Hello and welcome to the 15th anniversary live stream for KarateForums.com. It was 15 years ago, May 21st, 2001, that I launched KarateForums.com, martial arts community. And so today we are celebrating 15 years with an array of guests from the community, a lot of reminiscing, a lot of recollections, a lot of positive vibes, and a lot of memories here from all of our time on the community. And before we get started, though, I wanted to say a few words real quick about the community and, what it means to me, what stands out to me about the community. So, the longevity of it is incredible. 15 years is a long time for a, for a human person. It's a long time for a website. And our community is a really good sized community. Like, it's not the largest martial arts community in the world. There are some that are bigger than us. We have, I don't know, 540,000 odd posts. But when I talk to people about this community, I don't really tell them about the numbers like that. I don't tell them about the number of posts, the number of registered members, the number of people, the number of page views, whatever metric we might have. I tell people how beautiful the community is. I tell people how members treat one another, about how thoughtful they are, about how considerate they are, about how even when we disagree, we do so respectfully, about how we bring people together from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds. It doesn't matter, who you are, where you're from, what you look like. At KarateForums.com, you're really identified based upon what you contribute to the community. And you self-disclose certain things about yourself, and we get to know people. A lot of people are kind of self-disclosing themselves today, showing their faces, showing their voices. But overall, on KarateForums.com, you're really judged by what you bring to the community. And, it's just a beautiful thing that I'm really proud of. And it doesn't happen without exemplary members in the community who participate in a way that reinforces and encourages those ideals. So, managing the community, we kind of create a structure for that to happen. But, more than anything else, it's an amazing group of people that we have at KarateForums.com that really make the community what it is and really help attract new people to the community that share those same ideals. So when people visit the community, they see that there are great people here. There are great members of the community. They see posts by Bushido Man 96 or JR 137 or Tall Geese or DWX or Ninja Nurse or Night in Melbourne or any number of our great members. And they say, look at that great post. Like, that's the type of place that I want to be a part of. That's a place I'm going to register. I'm going to stay. I'm going to continue to post. So overall, I'm just really proud of the environment we have. And how people act, treat each other, share in the community. It's a wonderful thing. It's not something I take for granted. I don't think it's something our community takes for granted. It takes a lot of work, efforts, not just by me, but by moderators and by members to help kind of keep this thing going for so long. So that's really what we're celebrating today. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, I'm looking forward to talking to everyone. We have a series of members lined up to come on and talk, and we have a live chat room going right now. So if you're in the chat room, I'm going to be watching that chat room, monitoring that chat room, interacting and bringing those thoughts and those comments into the stream today. So anything that you're sharing in there, any thoughts you have, any questions you have, if you have questions for me, questions for guests, thoughts you'd like to share, you'd like me to say on the air, please do so, and I will work those into our broadcast today. So we're going to be running for 3 hours from 4 to 7 Eastern time. Your time zone will vary. It's 1 p.m. to 4 in California. It's 9 p.m. to midnight in London. Early morning in Australia. Night in Melbourne is joining us early in the morning over there, so we appreciate that. But yeah, I'm excited to get started. And so why don't we do that? And I'm thankful to have a co-host with me today. I'm having a technical difficulty here because I'm trying to unmute him. Can you unmute yourself, Alex, if you can hear me? I don't know why I got you mute. Oh, there you go. You're good. So so I've got Alex with me. Alex is Tall Geese on the community, a long-term moderator. Alex, I will say right now that I wanted to have your profile up in front of me before I read this, and there it is. So you registered on May 4th, 2008. You have made 6,454 posts. You're the 4th all-time leading poster on the community, member of the month in June 2008, staff member since December 2nd, 2008. 20 nominations in the KarateForums.com awards. That's third all time. 11 wins. The current reigning, if we want to put it that way, Jiu-Jitsu and Grappling Martial Arts Contributor of the Year, as well as Health Training and Fitness Contributor of the Year. So recognized by the community through the awards, which is another beautiful, wonderful thing. Alex is going to be my co-host today. He's going to be talking to guests and helping me kind of get through this program today. So I'm glad to have him. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the community. So first of all, Alex, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on board. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's Alex is just a great member in the community, a wonderful member of staff, long-term contributor. I'm really just grateful to have you on the team and have all your support over the years, and just a wonderful kind of way that you go about yourself and carry yourself in the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this. This is such a fantastic component, I think, to anyone's martial arts training, myself included, and it just, for you to hold this whole thing together for as long as you have, it's fantastic. Can't say thank you enough.
I appreciate that. So when I thought of who am I going to have co-host this, who could I ask? I thought of a few people. I thought of you, and I thought of Noah Wastelander, also on the staff. He does a lot of YouTube videos as well, and obviously you've been doing that more recently. So yeah, it's good to have you on. So KarateForums.com. When you think of KarateForums.com, the community, what comes to mind for you?
You know, honestly, for me, it's just filled with great people, great martial artists, such a wide array of things that we all do. But the big thing that always comes to mind for me, especially now, it's just a huge component of what I would consider continuing education. When you do martial arts long enough, you get locked into what you do, and you get very good at what you do. And sometimes we don't look at ideas and look at those through a different lens. And the ability to come on a forum and interact pretty frequently. I mean, some of those threads get very active, a lot of back and forth, a lot of chance to digest and dig into what other people think, not just about their art, but what they think about other arts, what they think about different situations. It's just a huge component of continuing education to make sure, for me, I don't get stagnant looking at problems the exact same way. So for me, I look at it and I just think it's such a huge resource just to keep your mind open and continue to look at different things and look at problems through a slightly different lens.
That's awesome. I love kind of the diversity. I think that I think the community brings to some people. Myself, I don't know much about the martial arts, as I'm very honest about. But just being exposed to kind of a lot of people from different backgrounds and different arts, it even it helps me to see the richness of the arts and how people approach them in different ways, whether it be we talk about self-defense, we talk about spirituality, we talk about staying in shape. There's a lot of different aspects of the arts, so we get a lot of that in the community. Do you remember how you found KarateForums.com, or if not, because it was a long time ago, what made you join?
You know what? I'm a guy that I like to continue to dig. I like to look not just at what I do. I do like to research. I do like to look at other things. And an internet search, random internet search brought me there. And that's how I found it. And I looked for a while, and I'd read it occasionally as I still bounce around and look at different things. But what really locked me in and made me join and stay active were just the quality and depth of post that Karate Forums had compared to several other sites. It's very clear that the people that are on there and active understand their art to a very high degree. And that's very refreshing to talk to, especially in an age where anyone can say anything on the internet, to stumble across a place where the people that are giving their opinions and talking about what they do, it's not a superficial understanding. These people are digging very deep, and the quality is just exceptional. So the quality and the diversity, and you used that word earlier, and I think it's entirely appropriate. Name it, we've got someone that does it, and it's really great to see that kind of input across the board. And I forget, it was actually, I'm going to give him props, I think he just signed on. Brian had a response to a post, and one of these days I need to go back and find it. There was a post that Brian responded to, and I remember going, man, that's really a well thought out response. I can't even tell you if I agreed with it or not, but it's immaterial because the post was so well written and so thoughtful. I immediately joined just to reply to that thread and get involved that way. So I remember specifically that it was Brian's response to a post. I don't even think it was his post that got me signed on and rolling on KF, and it's been that way ever since.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Bushido Man 96, he's, I think, I mean, he's a wonderful guy, but I've kind of talked about this when we kind of celebrate milestones that he's hit, but just the idea that, you know, he's made 25,000 posts. Well, okay, that's a lot. You know, obviously, Brian, how do you do that with kids and, you know, a wife and a job? But okay. But also you think about the number of people those posts helped. You know, it's not just people who reply, right? It's not just people who register. It's people who view. All the people who view those posts through search engines, like that's how most people find KarateForums.com is through a random search. They're searching for a specific thing, a specific part of a specific art, a question they have, and Google indexes forums very well because they are vast repositories of information. So when they're looking for that question, they come into the forums and they see these great posts by you or by Brian or by Sensei8 or Danielle or Heidi or any number of members, and they say like, and they may never say anything. Like you may never know that you touched that person, but you know, you did. So with 25,000 posts on KarateForums.com, you may as well have influenced, for all we know, hundreds of thousands of people, 50,000, 100,000 people who visit that post and saw it if the post is interesting, insightful, helpful enough. So yeah, I mean, that's really how a lot of members come to the community. So I appreciate you highlighting that. And I'm leaving a pause there for you to say something if you wanted, but we will continue along. So I want to talk about your art. What art do you practice right now? Tell us a little bit about it.
Right now, primarily, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner.
No, I'm sorry. Let me say one thing real quick. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you, but Bob mentioned in the chat, it looked like I'm watching tennis. So I just want to be clear on that. Like I'm paying attention. I am. I've got 3 monitors in front of me. So I'm trying to notify guests about the show and how they can access it because it's changed. So all of you coming on the show, how we access the show's changed. So check your private message inboxes. This is a good time for me to mention that. And so I'm monitoring the chat. I'm looking at Alex. I'm looking at different things. I've got 3 monitors here. I will show you briefly. Take my camera down and show you. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. So that's what I'm looking at. I know it may seem rude or something to the guests, but I am locked in. I'm paying attention. And I wanted to also highlight something Brian mentioned in the chat. He mentioned about your thoughts about seeing things through a different lens. I'm with Alex on the thoughts of looking at things through a different lens. We have so many different people here with different outlooks and experiences in their training that we really get to see a lot of different opinions on the world of martial arts. And yeah, so that just kind of speaks to your point. So I'm sorry, go ahead. Tell us about the art that you practice right now.
Great, spinning the thing around and seeing all the screens. That's awesome. I don't know how you're managing all this chaos.
I'm working on it.
Primarily, my main focus right now is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone that follows the forums or is on the forums. That is definitely my focus. And it's a grappling art from Brazil. Really pushed by the Gracies in the early 90s at the outset of the UFC. It's all about closing the distance, getting the fight to the ground. And in my case, the type of jiu-jitsu I do is very much about positionally dominating the opponent. I don't do a lot of athletic, sporty kind of things, although I think that is great jiu-jitsu. I love watching it. I love going to compete occasionally. But really, for me, jiu-jitsu is really about controlling the fight, controlling the position, and driving towards finishing the fight with a submission. And it's one of the things I really like about it. I've been involved with several arts over the years. All of them have had major contributions to my outlook in my life, and I've appreciated every minute that I've spent in every one of them. Jiu-jitsu is my driving passion right now, although I also spend a lot of time in Pikiti Tirsi Kali, which is a Filipino bladed art. As much as I love it and love doing it, my coach is probably going to beat me up when he hears me say this. I really like, but as much as I love doing that, realistically, jiu-jitsu is what I do. That's my primary focus, and hopefully will be for some time. Will continue to be for some time.
Related to that, you are a school owner now, and you have been for a little while, but you weren't when you joined the community. You know, you didn't have your own school. That's kind of a more recent thing. You know, you have a school, you have a website, you have a YouTube channel, you regularly share videos from it. And so did the community aid or kind of influence that decision to, you know, make that leap and open up your own school?
Absolutely it did. Particularly in how we run the business of the school, our presence online, the social media, the YouTube channel, all of that was driven a great deal by what I learned on the community. And I'm not sure I would have ever had that appreciation for that side of the martial arts, especially the sharing, the technical sharing and everything. I'm not sure I would have developed that appreciation were it not for being part of this. It's certainly, being around Karate Forums made me much more tech savvy. Taking on the role of moderator, which I was honored to do when you asked me to start becoming part of that process. And I remember, I think I've told you several times, like, I'm super uncomfortable doing things like computer-based stuff, but man, it gets you comfortable. And even like the rudimentary introduction that was, like, it made the whole thing less scary. So when we started talking about kicking off a YouTube channel, it wasn't that scary anymore. Like, the time I'd spent moderating the boards made me much more open to going in and working through that process and building some viewership there. Certainly, you know, the time sharing on Karate Forums, and again, not just technical knowledge, but opening up, because you can't talk about your art, you can't talk about what you do in an open forum like this without like opening yourself up a little bit to criticism and, you know, and everything else. And you just become much more comfortable to that. And after a while, there's a comfort level with that develops, and then it doesn't matter what you put out there because you're confident in it. You've been putting yourself out there since apparently 08 is the figure. I didn't even have that
right
earlier. Since 08, you become very comfortable with that, and you become very comfortable with the debate online, and it certainly influenced me to the point where I wasn't as scared of that aspect of it anymore. And in fact, that's some of the stuff I enjoy most. I enjoy sharing what we do on YouTube, and some people find that valuable. You know, I enjoy being active in the social media circles, and not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but in other martial arts as well. It's something I truly enjoy, and in that aspect, it really, really did influence the decisions I made opening the business. Absolutely, absolutely.
That's great to hear, and it's it's funny to think about getting more comfortable about speaking about these things in public and how the forums can contribute to that. Yeah, but I think you're doing a great job. As I've told you before, I think that although you may not be good at the techie aspects of things, or you may say that, I think you've taken to it really well. And having a background in online community building, and I don't consider myself a marketer or a digital marketer, but I know those people who do it at a high level. And you know, you're doing a really good job as far as how you create content. Like, to make it sound, you know, there's a phrase, marketers ruin everything. And so, you know, to make it sound like clinical, it's something that's called content marketing, or inbound marketing, basically creating content that brings people to you as opposed to going out and getting them yourself. So they come to you because you share something that they are interested in. And so you're top of mind with them, and more likely to, you know, they're more likely to be your customer. So I think you're a great example of that for any kind of dojo, school owners, instructors who want to grow their school. You know, take a look at what Alex is doing at Alpha BJJ. You can search that and you'll find the website, find the YouTube page. So definitely give it a look. And I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. And, you know, and that's part of the great part about being in the community is it's very easy to, Noah runs a great, you know, he started with the Waza Wednesday, and like his channel is built, and that gives me the chance to jump on there, take a look at what he's doing, see how I mean, it's just such a great information sharing resource. Like I've already built a certain level of relationship and comfort level with Noah. So it's very easy for me to look at what he's doing, kind of understand that he and I are on the same page when it comes to things. And it's just such a great way to just produce creativity, having all these people coming together, even if it's not about the technical aspects of martial arts, but how we're sharing our message with people. It's just an incredible community, and having those relationships has really, really helped us stay in those circles and helped us define how we want to do things. And he does a great job with his stuff as well. I love watching his channel. Yeah,
he does. And, you know, he gets his stuff gets shared by various high profile people once in a while, like Ian Abernathy. And he's always like, he's like, I don't deserve that, whatever. But, you know, Noah's doing a great job over there, too. Like, he's creating great content. He's a great writer, great thinker about the martial arts. And I think he has an insurance appointment today. Is what he had during the time. Like, well, can you move that? I mean, they set it on. It's Saturday at he's out in Arizona, so I guess it's like probably 2 p.m. our start time. And that's your insurance appointment. It just happens to be on the stream. So we're not going to be able to have him on today, but he's definitely a great member within the community. So you've highlighted some people, but I wanted to just ask you straight out, are there any members in the community, including or beyond who you've mentioned already, that have stood out to you recently, you know, more recently, newer members, or just in your overall time here?
You know, the new crop of members that have come in the last year and a half are a really stellar group. And I have to say, it's really impressive to see the new guys coming in and like really develop an appreciation for the community, and really having a high degree of technical knowledge to share as well. Just on my time here, bouncing out a couple names. And again, I mentioned Noah, I mentioned Brian, who I think very highly of, Sensei 8, who's been around. I actually, Bob and I don't always see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay, and that's great, in fact, that we don't, but it's always been very respectful. At one point, I actually read his bio, though, and I think I sent him a private message. I don't think I put it out in the open. I was like, man, I'm sorry I ever disagreed with you. You've been doing this, like, I know he's been doing it a long time, but where the man is in the hierarchy, he has really been there, done that, and it's super cool to have someone with that level of experience as part of the group. So he's been highly influential. Rusty and his brother from, I believe it's Tennessee area, they always had a lot of great posts, a lot of good cross training that they've done in different aspects. Of course, several of my friends are on here that I actually know in real life. Master Payne, Bill Clark, is a really good friend of mine from my original dojo where I first trained. And several of those individuals are members. So they're not just influential on the community, but, in a personal life as well. And one that I can't get away from without mentioning it, it goes back a long way, is MMA Jim, I believe. And he's another guy that, man, I didn't always see eye to eye with him. And that was okay, because it was great to have a sounding board to make you actually think of the way think through these answers. It's easy to, have discussions when everyone agrees and we can kind of all say, yeah, we're great. But like when you have someone that's kind of diametrically opposed to the point you're trying to make, you have to stop and think through those responses. And that in turn builds a much higher level of understanding in yourself. So I have to, thinking back to the guys that have made me think over the years, I certainly have to put him on the list as well.
That's an awesome list. I appreciate you picking out some people that, like MMA Jim, and, because Brian says, I remember MMA Jim. And I like to say I remember him too, because, but there's a lot of members and a lot of people I talk to, and honestly, the name escapes me right now. So I'd have to look it up and look what he's done. But I mean, that's the great thing about our community. We can all have unique experiences and connect with different people based upon the sections we hang out in. As moderators, you tend to hang out in most sections, or at least view most content cross-sectionally. But yeah, I mean, it's great. So let me take a look at the chat real quick. Brian had a question for you. In regards to teaching BJJ-themed defense tactics to law enforcement officers, how do you approach those who tell you that they are completely opposed to being on the ground as a Leo and refuse to go to the ground? That's a complaint I hear a lot of from other instructors. And I have an answer I give them, but I'm curious to know what your approach is to those complaints and negativity.
A great question. And as a day job, I don't just run the gym as a day job. I actually am in law enforcement. And I do a lot of instructing along the way in law enforcement. For me, it's an easy selection. Like there's a citation the Gracies used in the early 90s when they started selling Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to everyone. That 90% of the ground fights end up on the ground. We should all learn how to fight there because that's where fights go anyway. As it turns out, that statistic, you can read some reliability into it, but at the end of the day, it was a very small pool that statistic was taken from. It's not like a real scientific number, but that doesn't mean you can't learn from the lesson that they're trying to get at there. My answer is always to go back for those officers who say they're never, ever going to fight on the ground, to go back to all their use of force reports. Almost everyone in the country now, for those not in the field, anytime we put hands on more than just applying handcuffs, we have to do a special report on top of the report we already do to explain our level of force we used. And look at those and see how many of those use of force reports ended in a position other than being on the ground. Because by and large, police take offenders to the ground because it, one, makes them easier to control, two, makes them easier to handcuff, three, prevents escape. So there's a lot of reason we put bad guys on the ground. And when you do that, people start thinking back and they're like, huh, yeah, just about everyone we arrest that decides to fight, we end up putting on the ground. So if we put I shouldn't say every single, because that's a large gap as well. If we put a lot of the people that we are arresting onto the ground, it behooves us to learn how to fight on the ground. And if we're going to learn how to fight on the ground, we should learn how to fight well on the ground. And there are very few arts that will teach you. There are other great grappling arts, so please don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but there are very few arts that will teach you to fight as thoroughly on the ground as jiu-jitsu.
Very cool. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I mean, Alex and Brian both work in law enforcement, so that's the connection there. I did an article with them a while ago, a series of articles on my blog at managingcommunities.com, where we talked about kind of the similarities and differences between moderation and law enforcement, because there are big differences. There are also some pretty good similarities. So yeah, it was a really fun piece, and glad to hear their perspective. So Alex is, I just, had a chat with him as a guest, but he's going to be sticking with us the whole kind of run here as a host, and he's going to step into the interviews and speak to guests as well. So without further ado, our next guest is going to be Danielle, DWX, another moderator in the forums. And I just, anyone watching this that's coming on, I sent everyone a private message with a link to join the Hangouts. Join the Hangouts just in case the invitation doesn't work. So if it's your time to come on, click that link and come in that way. Yeah, so Danielle will be on in a moment. But yeah, we've got some people in the chat room here beyond Alex and myself. DWX, Sensei 8, Master Payne, Zane, Night in Melbourne, and Bushido Man 96 are all in the chat room. So while we wait for Danielle to join us, I am going to take a look at the chat here. We have a lot of random comments. Active chat room though. Brian agrees Noah is great, don't we all? I always love seeing his thoughts and technical videos in the forums. Yeah, Noah is a really great member of the community, and it's been fun to watch him kind of grow into, in my view, a very respected martial arts commentator, a very respected commentator on karate and traditional arts and even MMA and fight analysis. And yeah, so I think we have Danielle. Danielle, can you hear us? I can hear you. How are you doing?
Perfect. Let me just pause the live stream actually, because I think it's a little bit slower than this chat's actually going. Okay, done.
Okay, yeah. Let's give it a second for your internet to stabilize. Your voice is a little garbled for me, so let's give it a second. Yeah, but let's see. How's it now? Say something now. Sorry.
Is it working now? Is that okay?
It sounds a little sketchy for me, and I love how we. A lot of this is my fault because I should have tested and forced everyone to test things, but we didn't do it because I didn't have time. Yeah. So let's see. Yo, your mic is coming off a little sketchy for me still, just kind of a little gargled.
Okay. Just wondering what I can do.
Let's give it a shot. Let's just roll with it because I can understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I just well, let's see where it goes. So Danielle, proper introduction. Danielle joined the community on January 17, 2007. Has 5,325 posts, is the 7th all-time leading poster, member of the month in April 2007, staff member since May 16, 2007, 19 nominations in the KarateForums.com awards, that's a lot, that's 4th, 7 wins, also 4th, that's a lot, and the current staff member of the year. Danielle, just a great member of our staff, wonderful moderator in the community, wonderful contributor to the community. So Danielle, thank you for everything that you do, and formally welcome to the live stream.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, actually, thank you for having me as part of the team. It's I actually see it as quite an honour, and I think I've learned a lot being a member of Karate Forums. Yeah, so thank you. Thanks to all the other guys in the moderation team.
I really appreciate that, and your mic is stabilized, so we're good. So I guess all it takes is a long-winded introduction from me, and everything just smooths right out. So awesome! It's glad to have you on. And as we discussed, Alex is going to jump in here and do an interview, and we'll both be participating. So Alex, go ahead.
So Danielle, same question basically that we started last interview with. When you think about Karate Forums, what comes to mind? What does that immediately bring to mind?
I'm actually going to go back to something that you said, and I actually wrote this down because I thought it was quite a good quote. You said quality and diversity, and I think that kind of sums up Karate Forums totally. You've got people from all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of different ages, experiences, coming from all different parts of the world, and I think it's quite nice actually because you don't actually get the chance to have that anywhere else in your martial arts journey. You know, you've got all these different people that have got different experiences, and you can have these conversations. You know, all the time you've got people saying things. You're thinking, hang on, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. And all the time somebody's bringing something new to the table.
You know, I love that answer. I think we have wonderful diversity in their community, both in all sorts of ways, not just arts, but gender, location, geographic region. We get quite a good mix of traffic from around the world. I don't know, I'm looking to the left. I'm talking to this imaginary person on the left. But just a great diversity in all different ways. Alex, did we lose you?
Nope, I'm back. There.
Sorry.
I'm back. Yeah, yeah, I glitched for a second. So, Danielle, do you remember how you found Karate Forums? And from there, what made you sign up?
Yeah, I think it was actually posted on Friday, to be honest. I think I came across one of his posts. I don't know if I found the actual site, but I was kind of just hanging around and reading. And I came across his post. It was actually, I think, about junior black belts. And at the time, I think I was only about 16. Still quite new to sort of the internet, new to forums and things like that. And I can't remember what the topic was. Something along the lines of, like, do you agree with junior black belts? And what are your thoughts on this? And of course, I was a junior black belt at the time. And I guess you can probably imagine that a lot of people are thinking, yeah, we don't like that at all. We only want black belts for 18, they're adults and so on. And I think Brian said there was something on that, and I thought, okay, I've got to respond, I've got to sign up. And I said my little piece. But what impressed me was the way that everybody, even though they disagreed with me or might not have agreed totally with what I was saying, is that everybody came back and they were very respectful and they were quite willing to have a discussion about it rather than an argument. And I think that's what made me stay, because at Karate Forums you have discussions. You know, people are bringing information and they might not agree with you. But they are doing so in a respectful way. I've been on a lot of the forums, I looked at a lot of the things, and all of a sudden it turns into this massive personal attack. And, what do you know and what kind of experience do you have? I think in Karate Forums, it doesn't matter what experience you have, your opinions are valued, and even if people don't agree with you, they're still going to let you say your piece and just respond to it in a quite respectful way.
Right, and having hung out on a couple of different forums, not nearly as extensively as I do at Karate Forums, but I think you hit the nail on the head with something there, and that is the respect that gets the respect that gets used at Karate Forums. Definitely something really unique. So, do you practice, Danielle?
To be honest, just taekwondo at the minute. So I have dabbled a little bit of Tai Chi, I dabbled a little bit of boxing. But my primary focus is taekwondo, so that's what I started with. Started in 2001, I think it was, as a kid. But over the years, I've become quite, I guess, heavily involved in that. So I do a lot of international competition now. And I actually recently got selected to be an England coach. So the minute I'm I take England coach, so that takes a hell of a lot of my time. And I also try to train other things, like a little bit of jiu-jitsu, maybe a bit more kickboxing. But at the minute, all of my focus is kind of on taekwondo.
Danielle, do you happen to have, I'm sorry to interrupt you, do you happen to have the Hangouts mobile app on your phone by any chance?
I do. It's probably going to be worse than the computer.
Okay, I was just because the mic. I don't think it's a connection thing. I think it's a mic thing, and it is coming in and out. So I don't know if it'd be possible for you to give it a shot. I don't know what kind of cell phone you have. So you'd know better than I do if you don't have like a decent cell phone. But it might be worth a try to see if the mic on the phone is a little better audio-wise. You want to give it a shot? So you might have to leave this Hangout here and then join that one, or try to join it through your phone. That makes sense.
I think it's on my phone now.
Let me mute you for a second. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. We're live here. We're doing it live, and it's maybe a little unprofessional, but yeah, it's tough to get everybody on the same schedule to test things and work things out. So we're really going on people's live computers and cell phones, and so Yeah, but I think, Danielle, the crux of what Danielle was saying was just, about the diversity of the community. And yeah, it's a shame that her mic's not working. So yeah, I had a question to ask her next. So we'll give her a second to come back. Meanwhile, in the chat, everyone's still talking about the conversations that we're having. And I'm just working on things behind the scenes. So again, when I'm watching tennis, I'm just kind of looking back and forth on things, sending people links. We're still trying to figure out how to get everybody to call in who's calling in. Brian and Bob. Not Bob, sorry. Brian and Bill, Master Pain. So we're still figuring that out. I might just call people on this phone right here and put it on speaker and see if that works. But yeah, so give Danielle a second here.
I like Brian's comment earlier in the stream about, so do I get credit for Alex and Danielle both, based on her last response? So yeah, I think we kind of have to give him credit on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't keep, obviously we don't have any way of knowing. We don't, because you really can't. But yeah, I mean, Brian, I'm sure there's a lot of members who have joined because of Brian's post, as we talked about, and because of your post and because of other people's posts. It's hard to say which posts do it, but certainly it has a direct impact on how on how people join the community. So yeah, what we might do is we might try to bring on our next guest, Night in Melbourne, Liam from Australia, who's joining us early in the morning. And we might try to bring on and talk to him, maybe circle back to Danielle after he comes on. We do have some space, some time later in the show. So we've got some wiggle room here for people so we can come back to Danielle later. But yeah, so let's go ahead and bring on our next guest, Night in Melbourne. I'm going to shoot you an invite right now. Or if you're listening to this, go ahead and visit that link. And Liam sent this really. We were playing around with doing a kind of a video collaboration for the 15th anniversary of different people showing us different, where they live or where they're schooled or talk about the community. And it's a big ask of people to go and shoot a video of yourself. It's a lot to ask of people in general, because videos, it's a harder thing. People aren't as comfortable on video. Not everyone wants to come on the stream today, and I can understand why. But one of the people who did submit was Liam, and he sent this really nice video complimenting the community and the moderators. We ended up not using it because I didn't want to put like a couple members out there, and say like these two people, put them on the spot. But it still was a very nice video that I appreciated. So looking forward to talking with him. And yeah, we're just waiting here for a second. I think we are going to try to get people on this phone. That should be interesting. We're going to see how that works. Yeah, we are doing it live here. So, Brian, we might be able to do that idea. Brian said maybe we could do that video collaboration idea in the future. Sure, we could maybe do that. And yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun to be able to have people show different aspects of their lives in the community. Hey, Liam, welcome to the program.
Hi, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, Night in Melbourne, Liam, is actually a more recent member than the ones we've been bringing on. Still been a member here for a while. Joined August 21st, 2013. So coming up 3 years in August. That's a long time to commit to an online community in general. But I guess we've had a couple longer-term members on the community join us first. Liam has made 1,566 posts. He is the 51st all-time poster. Member of the month, August 2014. And as a more recent member, hasn't had time to rack up all those award nominations, but still has 4 nominations and a win. Liam, it's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
No, I'm not an early here in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's very early, and I appreciate you making time. We talked about this before when I was putting this together. You said you wanted to come on. I said, what time? And I was like, this is the window. This is the window to come on, 6:45 to 7 your time, I believe. Am I right?
Yeah, it was. So don't mind at all.
No, we appreciate you making time. So, because I usually am asleep at that time here. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't get up that early because I don't have to. So, I appreciate you joining us. And Alex, I want to mention I have that little chat room. Oh yeah, you're in the chat room. Okay, good to go. Good to go. So I'll go ahead and start us off here. So Liam, when you think about KarateForums.com, what comes to mind for you?
Ironically, my partner would say I'm really dorky, but I would actually say family because after the first few posts I made, I actually felt really welcomed straight away. So it was very nostalgic. So, it was
No,
very
I
nice.
love that answer. That's hopefully everyone doesn't have the same answer and mirror everyone's answer the whole show. So because we all get influenced by this group think of, oh yeah, diversity is a good answer, and it is a good answer. I'm not saying it's not, but just the welcoming environment of the community is something worth mentioning because I think it's something that it's not me necessarily. It's just people in general in the community who make others feel comfortable here, comfortable to post an introduction, comfortable to share a viewpoint, comfortable to disagree, and not feel like it's going to be the beginning of an old term in community and internet would be a flame war. It's kind of an old, everyone gets bashed because you say something different. At KarateForums.com, we kind of want people to. We try to defend people who might have an unpopular opinion and try to make sure that they have the same respectful space that everyone else does. So I really appreciate you mentioning that.
Welcome.
So, Liam, when you think about Karate Forums, what comes to mind?
I just asked him that, Alex.
Oh, man. I was on the live stream.
We have a shared list of questions here. If anyone can figure that out. I mean, we have the questions. Oh, man, Alex, go to number.
All right, well, let's go with the next one then, since you already answered that, and I was apparently sidetracked on the live stream. Do you remember what made you find Karate Forums? And then once you found it, what made you stay here?
I think I was trying to do some research on something karate related. I can't exactly remember what. Then I think I found a couple of posts by Bob and Brian, both actually combined, and actually you as well, Alex. So, from those messages, I was like, oh, I could learn from them and sign up. So, and still learning from all of you guys every day.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, what art are you currently focusing on?
At the moment, I'm primarily focusing on my karate training, but actually looking at getting back into my jiu-jitsu game because I've been out of it for a couple of years, and on and off for Arnis at the moment. So,
what type of karate do you take?
I'd say that.
What kind of karate are you taking? What style of karate specifically?
Goju karate at the moment, so one of the more popular ones.
Yeah, I mean, KarateForums.com, we have that name, but it's obviously such a huge. Just karate is huge. You see a lot of Shotokan karate, obviously, but there's just a lot of diversity in there. And our community is obviously more of a martial arts community. Alex does BJJ. It's at the time, maybe not in my infinite wisdom, let's say, when I picked the name for the community. I liked the name first of all because it was easy to remember and it's something people search for. But it was also there was this idea that a lot of people just refer to karate as generically the martial arts because it's such a popular term, and you see that a lot, and it's not good necessarily. It's kind of annoying that people do that. But to be fair, I also own martialartsforums.com, and I redirect it. So if you ever want to type that in instead, feel free. Yeah, so you joined the community in, again, August of 2013. Where were you at then as a martial artist, as opposed to now?
I would have to say I was pretty kind of stagnant at that time because I felt like I had hit a roadblock, but when I actually found the site, just reading the post kind of got me over that hump and actually kind of kick-started my training again, if you will. So it was a big Kickstarter, which is always nice.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Alex.
No, so with you kind of use it to say like it kind of kickstarted you. Aside from getting you back in and getting you fired up to train again, how else has Karate Forums aided in your growth as a martial artist over the last 3 years?
I've said it's actually just aided my knowledge as well because before I got onto the forum, I would have to say my knowledge was actually really quite limited. But after joining the forum, it went from nothing to a lot, and also got me connected with other people that I didn't know. So it's just improved a whole lot in terms of knowledge.
Just take a look at the chat room for a minute. You know, we've got some people talking about the importance of disagreeing of different viewpoints. Danielle, DWX, opposition to ideas are good. Either makes your own idea stronger or forces you to reevaluate your own opinion. And Zane, which is awesome because it makes you feel that you can grow somewhere other than your dojo. He agrees with Danielle. If you never have to reevaluate your ideas or defend them, how can you know that it's really something you believe? And I think that applies to a lot of things in life. Bill shared this, not related to this, different point. Master Payne shared, haha, years ago Alex told me, hey, I'm part of this forum. It's great, lots of knowledge. And you can say something people disagree with without anyone calling you racial slurs. so that's a good thing. Like that's in a nutshell, that's what we stand for. It's not the way I pitch it to people when I talk about the community, but it's definitely part of it. It's a very respectful community. So it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So who is? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Liam.
Sorry, you go. I just lost my train of thought.
What members of the community have stood out to you, influenced you over the last 3 years that either recently or through those 3 years that have influenced how you think about martial arts, how you interact on the community? Who's done that?
I think it's mostly been Noah Wastelander, who's been the biggest influencer, especially when I was preparing for my second Dan grading at the end of last year as well. I was with his YouTube channel, along with yours as well, Alex, as well. So both of you, and also a lot of the newer members as well, I've noticed as well, have actually been really good in terms of helping out and having that fun that you don't see in other forums.
So before you kind of like close up with us here, thanks for taking time with us. And I know Patrick's working on some technical issues right now.
Perpetually.
And better him than any of the rest of us, quite frankly. But thanks for coming on. Anything else you'd like to say before we change channels?
I don't think so. I think we've covered quite a lot actually in the 15 minutes.
Very good.
It was always good fun.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Liam. It's really good to put a face to the name. And again, thank you for just amazing contributions that you made to the community. You know, probably one of the more, I don't know, we talk about like Brian and everybody has an impact, but I think there's definitely a real impact that you've had in the community over the last 3 years and making people feel welcome yourself. So when you talk about that and you say that you felt welcome, I see it in your post that you are doing that with the next series of members who join and you're making them feel welcome. So it's a beautiful thing and I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, well, get some sleep, or you're probably up now, but thanks again for making time for us early in the morning.
Cheers. See ya.
That was fun. So our next guest, Danielle's working on coming back to the community, and let me send him a message here in the chat. PM in the forums, not the chat. There we go. Thanks. But Danielle's going to work on it, see if she can find another mic to come on. But even if she can't come on, I want to talk about her briefly because, it's a shame she can't come on because she really has been just such an amazing member in the community. I think she just sets an amazing example. She just celebrated 9 years on the staff. May 16th was her being with us for 9 years. Just this amazing team that I have of moderators that has been with me for years. Heidi, Ninja Nurse, Bushido Man 96, DWX, you, Alex Tallgeese, Noah Wastelander. Just that we have this continuum of people over a long period of time is amazing and special and helps me to really feel really great about the community at all times. Like no matter where I am, no matter where I'm doing, if I'm traveling, if I can't, because you can't be here all the time, no matter what it is, like I know the community is taken care of. And Danielle exemplifies those qualities. Just an excellent moderator, very detail oriented. As a contributor in the community, just her posts are full of such great knowledge, empathy, just her posts, like yours and like the other members of staff and like the people we've had on today and like the people in the chat room, really exemplify the type of environment that we have here, which is helpful, thoughtful, kind, and disagreeing sometimes. Like I've seen, you talk about you disagree with Bob. Like, I apologize because you have so much experience, but that's a great thing about Bob is you can disagree with him, and you have to have that in our community. Like, no one is above disagreement. Like, no one is infallible. And I've had this conversation with various members over 15 years. Some members that are no longer with us, that, it doesn't matter. It does matter that your experience is wonderful. We want you to share it here. It matters a lot. But in the context of our community, if you can't be challenged, if people can't ask you questions about your knowledge, what do we have here? We don't have discussions. We don't have any conversation. We have this is your article that you posted and no one's supposed to say anything. Like, there's no conversation. I didn't mean to take it over, but I'm right. I mean, there's no conversation there if we can't challenge each other, if we can't talk about things. Even like, you're a law enforcement officer, that comes into context of the forum sometimes. People talk about those things. They talk about use of force. It's relevant to the martial arts. And we talk about, there's been discussions on how to handle, like when you're in a fight. And what to do when the police are called. How do you handle that? Like, what do you do? And even, you're an officer of the law and you know that very well. But if people can't ask you questions and say, Alex, well, I don't know about that. Is that really the case? Or I don't know. Maybe it's this. Like, if you're just a supreme authority, we don't have a discussion.
Right. And that's what drives, I think, the fun of the forums is when we can banter back and forth, agreeably banter back and forth about varying viewpoints. And there's such a big set of topics that we can talk about. And that there's so many ways to look at it. And there are so many reasons to do the martial arts to start with. And those reasons can change over time. Certainly they have for me. So yeah, and that's what drives discussion. That's what drives the post. And then that's what drives the fun and the learning we all get out of it. The fact that we can do it respectfully is fantastic, because I think you used the term earlier, the flame wars that the internet is known for. And it's so much better, even if we have a thread that goes back and forth, and we've had several that have been pages back and forth, but it's always done respectfully. And I think that's the difference. I think we all take more away from that. I think people tend to get a little less defensive about it when it's handled the way it is here at Karate Forums than in a lot of other places where it becomes a personal attack war pretty much right out of the gate. And I think the way that it's handled here and moderated here and the tone that you've set, that's just a good thing. That's just a good thing to make sure that we're still learning, we're still discussing, but we're doing it in a way that's not problematic for everyone to come back and have a good time and learn more again. We're not chasing people away.
Yeah, no doubt. And Brian in the chat, Bushido96, says, I always like to hear how others view what I've posted or written. It's great for feedback, and it usually ends up pointing me into a different direction with what I do. So yeah, we are going to try to call Master Payne on the phone here. This is going to be the most hackneyed, low-tech thing you've ever seen in your life. I have a telephone. I'm going to call him on the telephone and see if he picks up and this works, and see how clearly you can hear them. So you have to let me know, Alex.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, is this Bill?
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, how you doing? This is Patrick from KarateForums.com.
Oh, pretty good.
Can you hear that, Alex?
Absolutely.
You can. This is wonderful.
Yes.
Look at this. Like, we have all this technology. We have Google Hangouts. We have Skype. We have video streaming, webcams, mics. And here we are on the $20 Panasonic portable phone, dialing through a landline to connect to have a live stream about our internet community that we're all a part of. So it's a beautiful thing. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I got a delay here. I got a earbud in one ear and a phone on my other ear, and I think Alex said something. I have no idea what he just said.
Good luck. Yeah, I'm going to say you're not going to be able to hear Alex on this. Unfortunately, that's kind of a downside to this. I'm sorry to say, because that won't come through the mic, but you can hear me. And for that reason, I'll do the interview with you. And if Bill has anything to say, or not Bill, sorry, if Alex has anything to say, I'll hear him. I can reiterate that. So yeah, so let's proper introduction for Master Payne here. Joined the community October 26, 2010, 1,898 posts. He is 36 all-time leading poster, member of the month October 2011, 5 nominations in the awards and 4 wins. When Bill gets nominated, he wins. Like 5 nominations and 4 wins. That's pretty impressive, Bill.
Yeah, I think funniest member every time.
Yeah, you are a funny guy, and I've probably nominated you and voted for you in that category. And it's important because, without humor, without people who both know their arts and can talk about things, because you don't make 2,000 posts and have them be jokes, Bill. You are a member that does contribute a lot of value to the community, and sometimes says things in a humorous way, and people laugh. So that's why you get that award. But there's really an underlying value to what you contribute. So I'm really grateful for that, and was happy to see you kind of re-enter the community more recently after an absence. So welcome back, and thanks for coming back.
No, I always love the forums and stuff. Yeah, it's been just a real busy time in my life. I've been working 2 jobs, working like 60, 70 hours at some weeks, and I got away from training, and I was going to jiu-jitsu gym there for a while, and I just wasn't able to dedicate enough time to see myself progress any. I was kind of watching everybody else progress. I'm like, man, my back hurts, my feet hurt, and I've got to a point now where I'm like, man, I gotta get back into this. And like, I gotta get myself back on the forums too, try to get motivated again.
Yeah, I mean, so the forums, they take the back seat. Like, the forums are not what we live for, right? I mean, even I manage them, and they are not the #1 priority in my life. Like, we have family, health, work, other things come first. And yeah, so I totally get that. So when you think about KarateForums.com, what comes to mind for you?
This was kind of a standout post, and I don't remember who it was, but it's been several years ago. Of course, whenever Hurricane Katrina was, it was a couple of years after that first posted it. So they were talking about they were a survivor of Hurricane Katrina, and they lost like everything, and they were talking about how karate has been a kind of a constant for them throughout that to help them get through it. I've never been through anything like that. I've never been through anything that catastrophic, but as far as just day-to-day struggles and everything, and things that happen throughout anybody's life, martial arts were always kind of a constant for me too, that helped me to get through things. And but it's just interesting to see somebody share something that much from the heart, and with all the technical aspects of everything that you see there. And one thing is like interpretation of kata. That's great for me to see, because kata was kind of just like a relic for me up until I started seeing things on karate forums. Whatever, something that personal and that emotional. I thought that was great to see somebody's life story like that. You'll see things like that just every so often.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, the things that stand out to me as someone who, launched the community, and I can only take like a minimum amount of credit for it, but that launched a space and was fortunate enough to had people come and fill that space. But the things that stand with me are stories like that, and also stories about how the community kind of impacted it. One that's always stood out to me years ago that was shared with me, I don't want to say who it was necessarily, but if you search, you can find it. But basically, they are a veteran, a combat veteran. They were over in the Middle East, and it's like they said they get up every morning at 3 a.m. to visit the forums, and it was one of the things that helped them get through that time in their life. And I think it's an amazing thing. I think when the martial arts, when just an online website, a group of people can have a really positive impact in someone's life. And it's stories like that when people ask me about the community, and they ask me about like what's so great about it, like what are you proud about this website, what does it mean? It's just a website, it's just a community. Those are the types of things that I talk about. So I love that you shared that. Thank you. Let's see, people in the chat are talking about what they're drinking. I think more they're on tea or coffee or whatever's going on in their parts of the world right now. I think we're talking about Liam, because he's over there in the morning in Melbourne. But do you remember, Bill, was it Alex? How did you, I think you alluded to this in the chat, so tell this story maybe. How did you hear about KarateForums.com?
Yeah, that was Alex. Like I said, he said something. He came back home, of course, around here, called home. He actually grew up, probably about 10 miles from where I did, and we had the same school. Of course, I was a little kid, and he was like a teenager, and that was like my second home there. And and even more so for him. I owe a lot to these guys as just a few years older. They went out and did seminars and everything. I mean, my base art again is it's a hybrid art, and it started out as like Okinawan Kempo karate. Alex, correct me on any of this wrong, but all these guys were.
Alex says you're right. Keep going.
You're going
out doing seminars with, like, I think they had a college wrestler that they're friends with that they were learning things from, and they're like Filipino artists stuff that they're going to seminars. Shoot fighters and Valley Judo guys, like early MMA, like pre-UFC, and going out and learning all these things and then bringing them back to us. And I come from a little town, our school was in a town with 3,000 people. And I live like 10 miles away. My parents drove me there every day. Little town with like population of 250, and most of those are old people. And yet we got all this great base of knowledge where I end up with this great hybrid art. But anyways, he come back to visit his parents, and he always comes back to the dojo there whenever he comes home. They moved up north, and anyways, one of his visits back, he says, "Hey guys, I'm part of this forum, and I think he's administrator on it then too." And he says, "It's just a great place, and of course I won't mention any other forums, but some of these things that
you can, but I appreciate that. And I love that we've had that happen a few times where people, where we get a group of people that are at the same school or in the same social group or a group of friends who join the community. It's happened before. It happened with Alex, where we had Alex, you, Groin Strike, Clay was a member, and maybe even a couple others, where we have kind of one person join and say, "Oh, this is a good community," and bring their friends in. So, since you know Alex, maybe better than the rest of us, know him longer, certainly. Tell us about this guy. Tell us about my co-host today, Alex. What kind of person is he? What is, what should people know about Alex?
Well, he's just a fun, friendly guy, and you'd never expect him to be a cop because, they have a kind of a reputation around here. People that grew up around, and he's not like that. He's really likable. But anytime he gets back, they always invite me over to the cookhouse and stuff. He's just a fun guy to be around. His kids, I remember the first time I met his kids, they're like afraid of me because I look like a convict.
Brian, Bill,
actually, it's probably a good thing we don't have video here because I'm back cleaning fish. It smell awful.
Alex says he's afraid of you, so don't worry about it. Yeah, it's a good guy, good family man, good cop. Good to know. I got to get up there one of these days because there's a bunch of you in one area where I could just drive and go to lunch and meet everyone, all the Chicago area KarateForums.com members. Yeah.
What you need.
But yeah, the next time I saw his kids, they like one of them hopped up beside me on the couch and started reading to me out of a storybook. And I was like, great, they got over that. Oh, he's saying things to me. I can't hear him, but he's saying things to me.
Now you mentioned you're getting back into the arts. What is the art you take, or what's the art you're going to take, or what the art you're really interested in right now?
Well, basically just the home dojo. It's kind of slowed down. Everybody moved away and stuff, but I think they're doing like one day a week. I want to get back there and basically do some solo training. I mean, I got kata I can practice. I can get out, swing sticks and stuff like that. A little bit of Kali. But yeah, you look at our art, it's kind of reminiscent of what the Dog Brothers are doing, plus the Mikey Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. So speaking of that and kind of your journey through the arts, where, I don't know where you left off as a martial artist and where you were when you joined the community back in 2010. Where were you at back then, and where were you at when you left off and had to take a break?
Basically, I just had more time to train. I was doing that, plus I was, there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school started up here locally. I was going with them some too, and the guy running that was he had like very little experience, and he's totally honest whenever he started up school. He says, "Hey, I know I'm not in this very long, but we're going to take a trip about once a week, and we're going to go, 2 hours away, and meet up with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, get training there, and then come back and practice it here. And I think they've really grown in the past couple of years. He's gotten some rank and stuff, but I was kind of helping him with beginners and stuff there. But it just got to be too much on my body trying to do that, trying to work 2 jobs as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. And we got 10 people in the chat room now. We had Bultar joined us, and then TJ. Thanks for joining us, everyone, in the chat room right now. We also got Tall Geese and me, obviously, because we have to be there, right? DWX, who we're going to try to get on a little later again. Sensei 8, Zane, Night in Melbourne still hanging out, and we're talking about biting in the chat room right now. Apparently, someone tried to bite Night in Melbourne at one point during a roll. And we're kind of working through that story. Were they frustrated? Brian asked. No, they weren't frustrated. They were dominating. So why did they bite you? He says, I think he wanted to show who was boss. That's just an awful way to show who was boss. Like, I don't know. It didn't work out. I don't think it worked out well for Mike Tyson. I don't think it's, in hindsight, I don't think it made him look very boss or like a boss. So, yeah, but I've never had, oh, you know what? I did have someone bite me once. There's a story when I was a little kid at daycare, some kid bit me. And so, yeah, it wasn't during a roll, I don't think. But, I mean, I don't know what, I have no recollection. So, I don't know. No biting. Have you ever had anybody bite you, Bill?
No, but I remember discussing this with some of the older guys from the old group there. And something brought up just the intensity that these guys used to train with. And he's like, I think I still got so-and-so's teeth marks on my chest. This was like 25 years prior. So, but no, I've never had anybody bite me.
Well, that's good. Hopefully most of us have shared that common experience that they haven't had people bite us. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, how has KarateForums.com aided in your growth as a martial artist?
So the big thing with me with Karate Forums is just hearing the perspectives of some of the old school karate guys, and I actually know one from kind of part of our extended martial arts family that's very into traditional karate. And anytime I get to see him, I'm like, hey, show me something from a kata. How this actually works, and he can do it. So it's got me kind of my interest in that, where some of the things I've seen from that, I'm like, well, okay, I'll try that out, and I'll try to actually apply it in live sparring. So it's pretty good.
Very cool. Yeah, I think, it seems it's a common trend, and I guess it makes sense. It's just the sharing of knowledge is what helps people grow in the community. I mean, you talk about being from a smaller area. I think a community like KarateForums.com really has the potential. It's I'm not saying it's not useful for people who are like in New York City or Los Angeles, because there's value there. But for someone who is in a more remote area, in a smaller town, a smaller area, who maybe they don't know a lot of people who are into the martial arts, or maybe they're a specific martial art, they might know a few people at school, to be able to talk to those people, about the art and have them understand what you're saying and understand it at a high level. There's a real value there for people who are more spread out. I mean, obviously you're not that far from the Chicago area, but just the idea that people around the world, like even in the US, our smaller towns aren't necessarily, we have more people than say some third world countries or other countries around the world where people might know less people around there. Maybe they're trying to take the arts themselves, even though the people in the community discourage that. They discourage learning from video and learning from articles. Sometimes someone might be so remote that they really don't have a lot of people to train with, or maybe anyone. So to be able to talk to people online about the art in a smart way really, really can impact their life and impact, whether or not they stick with the arts and how passionate they feel about it.
Like I said, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you want to train with somebody that's high level, where I'm at, you got to travel, at least an hour one way. And, nobody's going to spend 2 hours on the road back and forth, plus keep a busy schedule and a family life, and be able to spend time once you get there and train and come back. You can't do that 5 days a week. And to really progress, you need 5 days a week. So,
Yeah. No, that is, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, even working, commuting, I remember when I was a kid, my dad had to commute for a period of my life. He had to commute 3 hours a day, an hour and a half each way. And it's tough. Like that's, I know there's a lot of people who live, let's say, outside New York City, take a subway in, take a taxi, and they're maybe used to it. But most people, 3 hours a day, let's say 6 days a week, because you got 1 odd day off a week. I mean, that's, 18 hours a day just driving on the road. I mean, it's a lot. And to dedicate it to, and to dedicate that amount of time to, what is a passion that betters you, makes you stronger, more physically fit, helps you defend yourself. It's valuable, but even to have to dedicate that time, I mean, it's a big ask. Are there any? We talked about. What were you saying, Alex?
No, I was just saying that to kind of like piggyback on what Bill was saying, and it shows the growth of not just it doesn't just show the region we were from, but the growth of certain arts. I remember being in college, and we would drive 2 hours one way to take a private in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from a blue belt. Like that was the closest quality instruction we actually had. So when Bill talks about being remote in a small town, it was significant at the time. And here we are spending money taking private lessons from a blue belt at the time. Now you could throw a rock and hit a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But the growth of the art and the location can be huge. It's why I don't bag on people that run online training programs, because I would have killed for something like that when I was in that position. So I totally get where Bill's coming from. I feel his pain there.
Could you hear Alex at all that time, Bill?
Yeah, I got that last little bit of it.
Okay, cool. I literally took, again, we're talking super low tech here. I'm literally taking, for people watching the video, taking the earbud out of my ear and pressing it to the voice thing on the portable phone. Yeah, but Alex's point was just that, when he was coming up and trying to find somewhere to take BJJ, it's like, no, they had to pay to take from a blue belt. Now you can throw a stone and hit a blue belt. And the arts cropped up quite a bit. So just a great point about, I guess, the growth of the arts, and of course the growth of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which has grown explosively just in the time that KarateForums.com has existed over the last 15 years. I mean, I haven't set out any data or made any analysis of like mentions of BJJ or mentions of Brazilian or mentions of Gracie, for example. But, I would guess that over a period of time, they've definitely increased. And I think that would probably be reflected if we looked at the data. So we've talked about Alex and how great a guy he is. Are there any other members in the community that have stood out to you during your time on the community, or more recently, anyone who's really, posts you value, people you appreciate, people who have impacted you?
Definitely Bob and Noah. Brian, it's just,
I'm sorry, say that again. Bob, Noah, and who was the third name?
Brian.
Brian. Okay, Bob, Noah, and Brian, the Holy Trinity. And I just made that up. We don't actually call them that. They're not like the Triforce in The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, but I might start. No, I won't.
Brilliant reference.
And Bill, so thanks for joining me. I'm glad we can make this phone thing work. Thanks for putting up with my low-tech ways here instead of having a call-in line for you directly. But before you go, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with everyone listening in?
Oh man, that reminds me of the story. It's kind of I was doing a counseling meeting for a guy that had a DUI, a friend of mine. The counselor asked me that whenever I was getting ready to leave. I go ahead and answer the question for a person. But he says, "Is there anything else you want to know?" I said, "Yeah, I used to be a woman." And he looked me up and down with my full beard and everything, and he just looks at me real. I'm like, "I'm kidding, man." He's like, "Okay, I got you. Just took me seriously." All right, well, thanks for having me on.
What was that? What? That's not okay, Bill. You're showing that sense of humor I see here, so I appreciate it, and thanks again for joining us. And you have a great rest of your day.
All right, let's see you.
Okay, later. Bill, what can you do with Bill? I don't know.
People have been asking that for a long time.
Yeah, Bill, he's a unique guy, but he does, he does bring an element of humor to the community. I'm not sure how my question inspired that story, but yeah, and I appreciate you being patient as we go through that, Alex, and because you can't really participate as much. But yeah, feel free to. We're going to do that one more time. That call. We're going to do that one more time later with another guest. Other than that, hopefully we'll have everyone wired in. So I think we're going to try to bring Danielle back on. So yeah, Danielle, please give it another try, and we'll see. Hopefully, she's tried to use a different mic. put a different mic on there. So hopefully that's it. Hopefully I'm not just totally wrong. I thought it was a mic issue, and I might look like a fool here. So it happens regularly. So we'll see. If we're talking about Legend of Zelda in the chat now, I definitely played Legend of Zelda. I skipped the first one. I played the second one on NES. Oh, Danielle's back. Let's see.
Is that working? Yeah.
It's working beautifully.
Perfect.
It's great. Excellent. Danielle, thank you for putting in the time to find a new mic, get it plugged in, get it installed, get it running, and give us another call back here.
No, perfect. There you go.
Okay, so let's just reboot this because the mic was really gargled for a lot of people. So let's restart the conversation and go right back to the start. So when you think about KarateForums.com, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, so I think go back to sort of diversity and being able to talk to anybody. You know, you've got people from all over the world. I think a lot of people, when they're training at home, they're just seeing the same people all the time and seeing the same ideas. And it's nice to have people from different arts, different backgrounds, different experiences. It just brings all that together. I think it was nice what Liam said as well about family, because it definitely feels like that. It's a definite community.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, the forums always had that great feeling of that. So when you stumbled across Karate Forums, how did you first find Karate Forums? And then once you found Karate Forums, what made you stick around and spend time and become a moderator? And what made you commit all this time to it once you found it?
Well, I think I was quite young when I found Karate Forums, at least I think compared to some of the members. I think I was about 16 or so. I just got my black belt. In fact, I just got my second dan. I was starting to experiment a little bit more, like sort of look at new ideas and look at what everybody else was doing. And I'm not sure exactly how I came across it, but I remember seeing this post, and it was this topic on sort of junior black belts, and I was a junior black belt at the time. And you know, some of the ideas I think a lot of people have that, you know, okay, we can't have that, we can't have junior black belts, or maybe you have to wait till you're 18. And some of these ideas, I thought, okay, I don't agree with this. I'm going to put my ideas forward. And I think, like I think I said earlier, it was a post by Brian. I can't remember, but I think I responded to it. And what impressed me was the way that everybody accepted my opinion. Might not have agreed with me, but accepted it, and then was respectful enough to kind of debate it with me, and not argue with me, but debate it and actually have a discussion about it.
Yeah, I mean, another form of diversity is age. And I think we have, at any given time, a wide cross-section of ages in the community, and we kind of make everyone be respectful. And most people are respectful by nature, but there's definitely been times, especially at the start, you know, these days it's really, moderation is fairly easy at KarateForums.com, like compared to a lot of communities of this size. And it's because we have sort of this great established norm, this great established social contract of people in the community already setting the example, that when that happens, it never catches on. It's never like when someone shows up and they're rude or disrespectful, we either course correct them. I muted myself, sorry about that. Course correct them onto the right path, or they end up leaving the community by force or by choice. And you know, it's just one of those things. And age is a part of it, because I can remember early on there was a person in the community who was like, I'm 45 years old. I've been doing the arts forever. You know, I can't. How can this person who's 14 disagree with me? How can that be allowed? Like, well, I don't know. I mean, this is a community. People discuss things. Like, they're not being rude to you. They're not saying anything disrespectful to you. They're just kind of questioning why this is true or why that's true. And when I started the community, I was 6. I'm kidding. No, I was 15, I think I was. No, I was 16. 16 years old, because it was 01. So yeah, I was 16 years old when I started the community. So I really had that belief early on, because it was me and my own self-preservation, is that, you know, we have to respect everybody. And now being 15 years older, and you can do the math on that, we still have the same, the math is that I'm 29, by the way. And 50 plus 16 is 29. And yeah, but I mean, it's still true today. Like, if you're 60 or you're 40 or you're 20 or you're 13, you know, we want you to be treated in a similar way. So I really think that's just a wonderful point. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Well, I think the great thing is, like, it doesn't actually matter how old somebody is. Like, people obviously don't bring it up, and they don't say, hey, I'm like 16, I'm 42, whatever. And most often you can't actually tell. Obviously, you can tell when somebody's got a little bit more experience. But I think the quality of posts, it doesn't matter how old you are, people kind of accept you for your opinion, no matter, you know, what kind of experience you've got.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And I talked earlier about self-disclosure. Like, we don't know anybody. And there's a scary part to that, because anonymity sometimes can breed bad behavior. But there's also a very empowering, great thing about it, because everyone who's here today started as nobody, a screen name on the page. Like, tall geese, what is that? A tall goose? What's going on here? DWX, we don't know what that is. Now we know your name's Danielle, we get it. But like DWX, Bushido Man 96, why the 96? You know, it's like, was he born in 96? You know, and so is he 96 years old now? And so we get all these things. It's just a name on a page, and as people feel more comfortable, they disclose things like their age or their picture of themselves doing the arts, or you know, their own background. And so, you know, people can make things up too. Like, you gotta be careful. You can't just trust everything that's on the community. But yeah, I mean, you really judge based upon what you contribute. So you're right. It doesn't matter.
So Danielle, you were saying you were junior black belt at the time. I'm assuming clearly you've continued to practice. Tell us, what art were you practicing at the time? What art are you focusing on now, and where are you at in that journey?
And that time again would be back in 2007, so not 10 years in January.
10 years in January, wow.
Yep.
So I practice Taekwondo. I've always practiced Taekwondo. That's pretty much been my foundation art, and that's what I've continued to stick with. So the type of Taekwondo I do is ITF Taekwondo. So not what you see in the Olympics. It's probably a little bit closer to the original karate. But I guess most karate people are might be offended by that. So I've been doing ITF Taekwondo since 2001. I think this year's my 15th year training. Yeah, and well, to be honest, I've kind
15 KarateForums.com years, 15 years of training. Good symmetry. Good job, Danielle.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. So I've kind of always focused on that. So. Actually, around the time I got involved with Karate Forums, I actually got selected to join my national squad. So I compete as part of ITF England. And it's funny because as I've grown, I think, with Karate Forums, I think I grew as a competitor. I was taking a lot of different ideas and trying to bring that into my training. And it's, you know, eventually I became, it's funny actually, there's a lot of parallels. So I became a moderator at Karate Forums. I then became captain of the England squad. And now, as I'm kind of reaching my 10 years in Karate Forums, I'm actually England coach, so England junior coach.
Wow, that's awesome. You know, I think there's a reason that you end up in leadership roles like that. You know, I think, you know, you're just.
Well, I like telling people what to do, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, it's the way you tell people what to do that matters. That's the key thing. Like, the difference between like a bad boss and a good boss is that he understands how to tell people what to do, and that is often leading by example, and that's something you do in the community. So I'm not surprised by that. But yeah, all the symmetry, all of it's that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I think it had a big impact on my life because obviously joining Karate Forums at sort of 16, I'm quite young, quite impressionable. Whereas I guess a lot of the older members, you know, you've got your ideas about what life's supposed to be like, and you've got a lot of experiences. For me, Karate Forums was with me through sort of my later teenage years, also university as well. So it's in a way, it's sort of shaping how I interact with people. Now, I don't know if many people know this, but my job is I actually work in sales for a living. So but I have a chemistry degree, so I sell chemicals for a living. And kind of the skills I picked up at Karate Forums helps with that. So my day-to-day job, you know, I've got to calm people down. I've got to tell people, you know, if they've got an issue with some of the products I sold them, I have to kind of resolve that for them. And that's similar to what I do as a moderator, I think. You know, you're resolving issues all the time. You're speaking to people. But the other half of it as well is taking like an idea, something you might know really well. Like, so for me, it's Taekwondo, and taking that and explaining it to people who might not have any idea what you're talking about at all, and breaking it down to a nice sort of simple level. And that's kind of what I do in my day job. And so having that kind of experience from Karate Forums has really kind of shaped who I am and who I am on a day-to-day basis.
Gotcha. I think that's so cool to see that symmetry going between your life outside of the forums and the forums and your martial arts as well. You mentioned you're a competitor, European team. That is super cool. Now you're coach. Clearly, you got to travel and compete. Just to piggyback on that, because I just love to hear these stories. What's the coolest place you've ever got to go and compete and/or coach?
To To be honest, we haven't actually competed that many cool places, or at least not for me. It's so I've been to Europe.
That's like totally disrespectful to all the places you've been to, because they know.
Okay.
All the cities are listening right now. Like, we're all awful. Sorry, Danielle.
Anyway, here's a story for you then. 2009 was my first World Championships. I stepped onto the mat. You know, I was doing sparring in the heavyweight category, and it was in St. Petersburg in Russia. So my first time going to Russia. And my second bout, I think it was, I was versus North Korea. So I'm sparring this girl, North Korean girl, and she's getting a little bit angry with me, and her coach getting a little bit angry with me. So start of the second round, her coach, I see her whisper something to her, and she says, "All right, ready, go," and punched me square between the eyes. So I turned around, looked at my coach, and buckled and hit the floor. So I've been to St. Petersburg, and I got knocked out by a North Korean.
Talk about diversity.
Exactly.
There's so much diversity going on in that.
Yeah.
Who here for you has stood out? Because you've been here longer than most of us that are here today, longer than me, longer than everyone probably except Patrick. Who throughout that time has stood out to you as a member that's influenced the way you think, or that you appreciated their post, or who stood out through all those years as someone on the forums?
I think Brian deserves an honourable mention. Obviously, being a fellow Taekwondo athlete or fellow Taekwondo practitioner, because obviously in sort of my day-to-day life, I'm only ever seeing ITF competitors, fellow ITF Taekwondo practitioners. So it's nice to have somebody else's perspective on it, somebody who's doing something very similar to me, but who I can bounce ideas off, and it's going to be a little bit different from what I do. Aside from that, is yourself, Alex. I think you're incredibly knowledgeable, and I love watching your videos. So I might not understand really a lot about BJJ, but it's quite nice actually watching and seeing the way you explain it, and explain it in a way that I can understand. And that's as somebody who's never rolled on the mat before at all. Bob, I think you've got amazing experience. And again, that's kind of what I said about earlier about disclosing things. So Bob, you wouldn't necessarily know that he's such a high level within his own style. I know he talks about it, but it's quite nice being able to interact with somebody like that and actually interact on a level where you can actually have a discussion about it. In sort of my day-to-day sort of Taekwondo experience, you wouldn't necessarily speak to an 8th Dan quite so frankly. And I wouldn't necessarily go up to a 7th Dan maybe, or a 9th Dan, and just say, hey, what do you think about this? Can I tell you my ideas? I think that's quite cool. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's far too many people to mention. I've always enjoyed reading people like Zane's posts, Master Payne's posts, all of the staff members. We should just do a roll call. We should just start with the list.
It's tough. I might just mention a bunch of names at the end of the show, just to make sure everyone gets in, because there's a lot of great members here, and it's really a tough question to put people in the spot, because again, you do have those names who are just the top 2-3 posters, people who win the most awards, those things, and those members stand out for a reason. But there's amazing members in the community, just across the board. To use a phrase Bob uses a lot, across the board. And one thing I wanted to point out here real quick is, as natural as this may seem right now, or maybe unnatural earlier, talking between each other, like, this is the first time Alex and Danielle have spoken, as far as I know, over video, over voice, after posting on this forum and talking to each other probably in hundreds of discussions over however many years they've been here. So each time, it's the first time that Alex is talking with someone, probably over the, not Bill obviously, because they're local, but no matter who we're coming on, like, this is the first time, and there's a surreal nature to that. That is, I don't know, it's really interesting. I've met a lot of people that I first met online, in person, probably 100 or more people that I first met online I've met in person later at a conference, at an event, at a lunch, whatever. And there's just a surreal nature to it. So if it seems smooth, it's because they're just all really great people that have really great social skills. But it's not necessarily naturally that way. So I wanted to mention that, because it is like, this is cool. These are cool moments, like connecting people for the first time face to face.
Absolutely, I think it's great. I'm so lucky actually to get a set in the chair this day and co-host and get to do this and talk to Danielle and talk to everyone. It's fantastic.
And Brian mentioned in the chat, the proof is on the floor. Yeah, Bob says that a lot too, across the board, and the proof is on the floor. Those are big catchphrases for him.
I think Danielle was actually on the chat earlier when we were all talking about how great it would be to do a meetup one of these days, somewhere down the road to get a big Karate Forums meetup going on. And I think that is a fantastic idea considering how much we all like to do these live streams and talk to each other face to face. I think that'd be a great idea.
It is. I'd love to do it. I've thought about it. I think there's some things we want to do on the community this year that hopefully we can do. And then, yeah, I mean, I'd love to get together, get some people together. It's tough to put together conferences. Like, they're expensive. There can be local meetups. I mean, you know, can you go to the UK? Can you fly from the UK? I mean, I've never been to Britain or the UK or Europe for that matter. And you know, I know it's expensive to fly. So, but yeah, I mean, it would be really fun. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something we could do with Google Hangouts just on a semi-regular basis. Who knows? But anyway, not to diverge too much off the track here. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for you know, sharing your experience at KarateForums.com over these almost 10 years now. Thank you for being such a supportive member of staff and just a great person in general. Before you go, do you have anything else that you would like to say to anyone listening?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me be part of the team as well.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay.
Well, it's always the awkward goodbye time. There's always an awkward moment where we're like, we don't know what to do. Should we say goodbye? Should we kick Danielle off? But yeah, we will say goodbye, and I will talk to you on the forum. So thank you, Danielle.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. And I have eject button on here. It's rather cruel. It's enabled eject. Like, I don't want to eject Danielle out of the airplane of our live stream. But yeah, that was a great conversation. So I'm really grateful that Danielle was able to find another mic, hook it up, come on, because again, such a wonderful person, wonderful member within our community. So I'm looking at our schedule. Let me see, who should we bring on now? I think our next guest should be Zane. So let me go ahead and invite him. I don't know. I don't know if why I didn't realize this, or it's one of those things where there's so many data points. I mean, there's like 10,000 plus registered members, and you can't know all their join dates. But you know, he's been on the community since 2005 himself. So that's you know, 11 years in August, and you know, that's a long time. He's been on the staff for a little shorter period of time. But yeah, so we'll get him on here to talk. Going good so far. You're doing a great job, Alex. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's something to talk to people for the first time. And you know, I've talked to some of these people before. You've been on a live stream before, haven't you? Didn't we have you on one?
You interviewed me on the first one we did. Yeah, we did an interview on the first one.
It was probably without video. This is the first one we're doing with video with people.
Video. Yeah, I was unfortunate.
Adds a layer to it.
Yeah, I was at the last big post count we had. I was out of town. I couldn't take part.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just it's something. You know, to talk to people. I don't know. There's just something to it. It's really interesting.
There's a lot going on here, and you have way more than I do, and it's all I can do clearly to manage the chat over here and the live stream over here. There's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, there is. There is definitely a lot going on. Lots of things breaking. You know what I wanted to take a look at real quick as we wait for Zane, and I might come back to this. Actually, let me take a look at the chat. So we've got TJ in the chat. Is TJ a friend of yours, Alex?
Yes, he is. He and I go back to the old school together down in downstate Illinois.
So he doesn't have a. He's a new one. He's another one you're recruiting.
Yes. Yes.
Am I missing anyone else? Tall Geese, Master Pain, Groin Strike. Is there anyone else that's joined the forums from your group?
I think that was it. I think that's the extent of that group. But again, what was great about that group, it was the first martial art I took, first martial arts instructor I had, still very close with him, Tim Jones, very much a mentor to me, very much a father figure to me. And that whole group is really like a family that I've kept throughout my martial arts career, even though I'm not still there doing that. And I moved on. I've branched out and done other things. I still go back there. I still think of it as family. I still think of it as my school, you know, like the school that I go to. So it's a great group of guys, and they're very open-minded, which is probably one of those things that drove me into being the way I am about cross-training. And they're all always looking to find stuff. So yes, of course I try and recruit them.
Well, I appreciate it. And we've got Zane on the line here, looking good. Looking good.
Thanks. I always do.
Yeah, looking and sounding good. I like the quality of the stream. It's good to, we gotta string together some of these really good tech solutions all at once. Danielle was great quality. Now we've got John on the line, and it's great to see you. Like, it's great to see you face to face for the first time. Give you the proper introduction here. Zane, I was just talking about how early you joined, like August 2005. 11 years in August. That's a long time. You have been on staff since March 5th, 2013, so we just marked 3 years a few months ago. You have 1,395 posts. You're the Member of the Month in May 2012. You have 2 nominations in the KarateForums.com awards, a member of the staff as a senpai. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So, Zane, or John, I always defer to screen names because that's how we always tend to know each other, so I apologize ahead of time. When you think about Karate Forums, what comes to mind?
I mean, it's been said a lot, but the family of it all. It's a place you can go to and put your ideas out there and feel safe and comfortable, not getting a racial slur thrown at you. So
that's like the meme of today. It's like the constant theme. It's like racial slurs.
Racial slurs.
It's not that bad. Like we don't even get racial slurs that often. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
No, but that's kind of the thing. That for me at least, I love having the people to bounce the ideas off and the community and feeling safe, kind of putting myself out there, and that's a big deal for me.
So how did you find Karate Forums? And again, that's again going way back. How did you first find us? If you can remember back that far.
I actually can. There is a user named Unknown Style, and he lived with me at the time, and I think he was a Member of the Month at one point too. But he said, "Hey, you have to try this out." Went in, signed up, made a lot of embarrassing posts. I was 15 when I signed up. So I was actually looking through those earlier, and I was cringing really hard.
Isn't it funny? Even
that's a name from the past. Unknown Style. I actually remember that name. That's amazing. I don't know if you ever said that or if it was an introduction thread and it was so long ago. But that's crazy. It's funny how people come to the forums. He was actually living with you at the time.
Yeah.
Unknown Style joined in August 2005. Made about 553 posts. We haven't seen or heard from him since 2014. He logged on apparently. And posted. So it's really funny how members. There's an ebb and flow to some member accounts. We talked about Bill leaving for a while. There's another member recently that came up that was gone for like 5, 6, 7 years and came back. Unknown Style posted in 2014 and probably had a gap in there of time where he hadn't posted. So it's funny when those members come back around and you hear some of those names.
Yeah, and I had gaps as well, and it's just a thing that I keep coming back to because I love it. Life kind of gets in the way, and then you remember that, I got to go back to Karate Forums, and you kind of just stick with it.
I love that. I wish everyone would think that. I got to go back to Karate Forums. That'd be a great thing. I fully applaud that as like a national doctrine or like elementary school textbooks. Like it needs to get in there. Like you need good science books, and you need to have a constant reminder to go back to KarateForums.com.
Yeah, you just put that as your tagline. Karate Forums. You can't stay away. Don't try.
I like that. Or we'll find you and use karate.
We all know karate. We'll find you.
Nice. So, John, what art do you study, and how long have you been with that?
I study a lot of arts. The first one I started was Matsumura Seido Shorinryu. I've been doing that for about 14, 15 years. It feels like so long ago. Moved away from that, not because I like literally moved away. Started doing some long fists and mantis, moved back and started getting into Western martial arts, swordplay, stuff like that. And I kind of do a mix of everything. I like to keep it fresh. I like to add different styles to my repertoire so I can always have a different perspective.
That's fantastic, and I love that mindset. I love cross training like that. That's awesome. How has Karate Forums aided in that growth? Like as you've gone forward, as you've tried all these different styles, as you continue to experiment. How's the site driven or aided or helped in that in any way?
Well, like I said, I was really young when I started, so at first it kind of helped me and that it was not my instructor all the time giving me advice. I could come and I could say, hey, I'm thinking this, my instructor's thinking another thing, and I could get a bunch of different things. So it really helped me grow philosophically in martial arts, and that's something that I really appreciate. Like, knowledge plays a huge role in martial arts for me.
2 notes from the chat. Brian Bushido96 says, the Western sword arts would be so much fun to learn. There is a rich Western tradition out there.
Yeah.
And Bob is a big fan of the picture behind you.
Thank you. Women who run with the wolves.
Very good. Bob likes it.
I'm happy to please you, Bob.
Keep Bob happy.
Just to throw a tag on to what Bushido's man's saying here with the Western sword arts, and I know it a couple of times it's popped up in the weapons forum. How did you make the jump from a subsect of Shorin-ryu and find that? And what's the compare and contrast on the body motion, the art of the Western sword as to what you found in other Asian arts?
So as a kid, I was always obsessed with medieval arts and stuff like that, and I always wanted to learn swordplay. And all over the world, there's a society called the Society for Creative Anachronisms, or SCA. Some of you might have heard of it, and they do stuff like rapier or sword and shield fighting. And so I kind of got introduced through there, and kind of met up with some of those guys, and that's kind of how I got started. As far as the body movements, for Shorin-ryu, it's very similar. You know, there's only so many ways a body can move, and I would say in sword you worry about lines a little more. You have to stay on line with your opponent. Can't step off line and take your sword off line, or you die, and that's a bad thing. And
laughter. We're gonna play laughter on that. That was a joke. I liked it. Keep going.
So it was. It's pretty similar, especially for going from Shorin-ryu to that. Now, if I was to compare it to Eastern martial arts, or I guess it's a wrong phrase to say, or Chinese martial arts, something that worries more about stances, being low and stuff like that, it was vastly different. But from where I came from, it was pretty familiar.
Gotcha. So as you look at like posts across the board, and again, been around a long time, who are some people recently that have stood out for you, and who are some people that maybe going all the way back to the 04-05 timeline, who stands out as people that have influenced how you thought about martial arts, influenced the community?
One of them is Bob, to mention one of the Trinity. I remember
that's totally going to be a thing now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to do everything in my power. I remember a debate me and Bob had a while ago. It must have been. It was before I was a senpai, and it was debating about the nature of knowledge versus wisdom and the differences between that. And it had nothing at all to do with the karate or any martial arts or even the original post. But I remember that was kind of like the turning point for me, and that I did want to dedicate more time to the forum. Other than that, Danielle has been great. I really enjoy reading her posts. Alex, you, and Brian always have great content. Back in when I first joined, there was a user named Shorin-ryu, and he also influenced me a lot. He gave a lot of great insights that I hadn't thought of, and really opened my mind to the wider world of Okinawan karate.
Any experiences with karate outside the Okinawan variety?
Yeah. Well, technically American street karate. It's a local system here. I think I have that on my systems. I got an honorary black belt there. I had never heard of it before, and on my Shodan test, the Grandmaster showed up. He was a friend of my instructor, one of the Passamores, if anybody recognizes the name. And he's like, I like what you do. I'm going to give you this. But other than that, karate-wise, no, not really. I went to a couple TKD classes here and there, and other than that, no in-depth training.
So given like the wide array of things you've done, everything from Okinawan karate into Chinese arts to Western sword arts, what's on your radar next?
Next? Oh, man. I'd really like to dive back into Shorin-ryu. My instructor that I had doesn't really do it anymore. I don't really have a relationship with him anymore. I'd really like to dive back in, maybe even start fresh. It feels like so long since I've had an instructor in that. Other than that, I don't know. Probably a little jiu-jitsu here and there, or something that's vastly different from what I'm used to would be where I would.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Before we kind of start going our ways, do you have anything else you want to share, say?
I mean, not really. The community's great, and it's awesome. I love talking about it. I love being a part of it. Just really happy to be here and contribute.
Awesome. Well,
awesome. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you. Yeah, I was just posting in the chat. You're killing it here, Alex. I love these questions. You know, a lot of these questions he's asking. This is what I wanted Alex to do because he knows martial arts. I don't. Like, I don't know the martial arts. I'm honest about that. So we're having a good time here. Things are going well. Hopefully we can get our next guest on. I don't see him in the chat, so I am hopeful that the invite I sent, I'm trying to leave surprises here, like who's next? Who's next? Like, and I'm going to send him a private message now, and then we could talk for, there's a couple of things I like to talk about in our break here. But first, I just want to make sure I send that. I like the Shorin Ryu reference there. Another member from the past that we haven't seen in a little while. I think there's a natural, you know, one thing we do really well, I think, at KarateForums.com is we talk about our history and we preserve that history. And I think that's important. This is no different than, I'm not going to say this is a great civilization, but I'm going to say that, you know, all communities, all civilizations, all whatever you want to call this thing, have histories. And some communities, some people who manage communities throw away that history, as odd as that may sound. Like they may delete old posts or clear out old contributions or old accounts over time. There's really no great technical reason to do it. Not today. Bandwidth, disk space, hard drives, cheap. It doesn't cost a lot for me to host 500,000 posts. But people used to have a bigger reason for that because it used to be more expensive. And so, yeah, I mean, I really believe in preserving our history, talking about it. Even people who have moved on, like it's natural. Most people, and let me know, hold on one second, I'm just gonna make sure I send this out. Most people who, you know, what was I saying? My train of thought on history. Oh yeah, most people who manage communities, you know, I do it. I own KarateForums.com, own in a sense that I own the domain, and it's my space to manage and do what I want with, so I have freedom. But a lot of people manage communities at big brands. There's community managers at big Fortune 500 companies and all these places, and most people just go from job to job. They don't stick with one community for a long time. So most people don't get to see a community mature over 15 years. But when you do that, you see a lot of stuff, both good and bad, happy, sad. I'm not going to rhyme all day, you know. But you get things like yeah, people meet in communities like this. They get married, they have kids, people die. People come, people go. So there's definitely an ebb and flow to it when you stick around with a community for so long. And I think a lot of you on staff also probably recognize and see that, you know, because I've been fortunate enough to have some of you with me for, if not almost a decade, in Heidi's case, way more than a decade now, Ninja Nurse's case. So you're seeing that as well as people kind of move in and out, just like in your life. As you talk about, you went to college and you went into law enforcement, and then you went into being a school owner, and these are all parts of your life, and people come in and out of those lives. And our community is very similar, and the longer you stick around, the more you get to see that.
That is so true, and especially about the community. And what's funny is, and I think you alluded to it earlier, you'll see someone be very active for a time, and you'll see them go away for a little while because like life gets in the way. But then it's always fun when they come back and you see them again, and maybe they're doing a different art, or they've changed schools, or maybe they're a black belt now, and they have an entirely different perspective. And I think John made a comment earlier. He read back some of his early posts and kind of cringed. And I think we all kind of do that to a certain degree, because after you go back and look at some of this history, we were all in different places 10 years ago, 8 years ago, you know, and especially when you go back to the early part of your forums, 01, 02, I'm sure those individuals that were there a lot, they just have a different mindset about the arts now. Maybe they've changed reason for even doing the arts. And that's really interesting to see as you go back and look at some of that archive material. I've noticed how much my thought process about certain things has changed, and I'm sure that holds true for so many others as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's an industry of community people, right? And I know people might seem crazy to people who are just posting in these forums, martial artists, but there's an industry of people who manage online communities, and I'm a part of that industry. I've written books about it. I speak at conferences about it. It's part of what I do professionally. And you know, I've been talking a lot with that industry about the idea of you know, being okay when people leave. Because it's not like people want to try to lock people into the community as long as they can. You know, they come up with certain things like a commitment curve is like an idea of at the different stages of a member life cycle, these are the things you want them to do. They might post an introduction. That might be an early thing. Maybe at the high end, they're advocating for you. In the case of like Airbnb, like they're calling their local representatives to get laws passed that allow Airbnb to exist in certain areas. Like that's kind of so there's this whole commitment from small to big. But you've got to be okay with people leaving, because I mean, people will leave, and it doesn't mean that it's bad. You know, you're still a part of their story. They're still a part of your story. Like when someone goes from KarateForums.com and they go on to be, you know, whatever. Let's say Noah becomes some major MMA commentator, right? And he leaves us all behind. That's a good thing. Like we're proud that he did that. You know, you go and you just start a franchise of schools, Alex, and you are way too busy for us, okay? And you have to leave. So we're proud that you did that. Like we helped a little bit on that path. And so, you know, we're part of that story. And when any member comes in and is new to the community, we can always say, well, look what that person did. They were a member of this community. They utilized this community, shared, grew through this space, and became this. And I mean, I think it's great to have those stories of people who do move on and who are successful. And, you know, this is a community about something that can be a hobby, that can be a profession, that can be a passion, that can be a job. You know, martial arts can be any number of different things for people. So, you know, different people come into it with different goals. You might just be some kid who wants to get through a white belt. You might want to run a school. But, you know, we don't just have a singular purpose here. Like the purpose of the community is what the person gets out of it. That's the purpose. And it's different from each person. So, yeah, I mean, that's my philosophical Zen take. I appreciate that. I wanted to mention Devin is in the chat, Lupin1, a great member of the community, member of staff. I don't think that she'll be able to join us on the stream today, but just a wonderful member of our community. So glad that she was able to make it into the chat. And she agrees with what I was saying, which it's always great when you point out that people agree with you. It's not egotistical at all. But, you know, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. The online community is the same way. Very smart. In fact, that's a more eloquent way of saying what I just spent about 100 words saying. So thank you for that, Devin. And yeah, I mean, I think, let me see if I've got a new message here from who is supposed to be our next guest. He might be having trouble reaching us. So I think we are going to move on to the next guest after that and see if we can circle back. Just bear with my typing noises as we work on this next guest.
This is what I consider witchcraft. Everything you're doing.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I gotta say a few incantations. I can't hear them, so let me mute myself here. Satan, please. No. Yeah. So I'm trying. We'll get the next guest on here soon. But yeah, I mean, it's a great day. There's a lot of positivity, a lot of love here, which is great. I mean, the community has ups and downs, good and bad moments. There's positives and negatives to everything in the community. You know, there are times when I will do something that maybe as a member listening to this, you may not like, you may not agree with. But I think we can always maintain the civility that we have in the community, even when it comes to management issues or decisions that I might make or that a moderator might make that may not be what you would want 100%, but at least you can understand that where we're coming from isn't nefarious, you know, or negative, or there's a bad intention there. So I think we're all moving toward a common goal, everyone that we attract to the community. It's not, I got an IM from our next guest, ready to go. Let me find his link real quick. Alex, feel free to freestyle.
Oh,
what do you think?
Okay, to kind of go off that last point you were just making, and you were talking about like how things go up and down, and like we don't all agree all the time, but the way it's handled. I remember a thread that I was in, and it was with so many of the lengthy threads I was in because I couldn't shut up. and we were talking about kata and the purpose of kata. And if you go back and read some of my posts from 10 years ago, 8 years ago, you'll realize I really hated kata. And it's kind of funny because I'm involved in PTK. I actually do a lot of form work, and that's not lost on my friends from down south, and not lost on my initial instructor, who was furious that I spent years making fun of kata. So my views have changed on that. But there was a lengthy thread, and we were going back and forth. And I remember at one point you sent me a PM on it, and you're like, look, you're doing this respectfully. Did you not think at some point you were just saying the same things over and over and over again? And I'm like, yeah, you got a point, Patrick. You really do. And so I went back and I read the post, the thread, and I was like, okay, so maybe I didn't violate guidelines, but maybe at some point it was just time to move on. So, but like the respectful way that was handled was great. And hopefully I reciprocated by going, you know what? Yeah, I need to shut this down. I'm being an idiot as well. So I think it's just one of those things you go back to. It just makes the community roll the way it does, that we can debate, we can have a good time, but through the ups and downs, even when we get things wrong, we can course correct civilly and move on. It's a great thing to have.
What have I done here? I muted our next guest temporarily, and what's wrong with me? Why can't I see how to unmute? Colin, if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself? There's a mic at the top of your screen, maybe There you go. You did it. You did it. I'm sorry. See, it's just one tech issue after another. Thank you for joining us, though. It's great to have you on. Bultar. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Bultar.
It's a funny thing with usernames. Sometimes I don't know, when you say them for the first time, it's like, am I saying that right? But your name is Colin, and it's awesome to have you on here. You're actually probably the newest member that we're having on, which is awesome because I wanted to we talk about diversity a lot today. I want to bring in newer people. Oh, we've got Luther on the call too. Luther, hold on. Just stay on the call, okay?
No problem.
So I'm going to mute Luther. We're going to talk to Colin first. You see, you can have a lot of people. We just don't want to blow anything up. We don't want to. It's confusing enough already with us. So first, we're going to talk to Bultar. Bultar joined March 8th, my brother's birthday, actually, 2015. So you've been here for a little over a year, 201 posts. You're from New Zealand. We talk about that diversity and location. Member of the month, January 2016. So a newer member. But I appreciate you trusting us enough as a new member to come on here and sit face to face with us.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see faces to names. I don't post that much, but I certainly check the forums every day I can and see what's going on. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed your posts. You're right. You don't post. I don't know. That's a good number. 201 in about a year. That's not a small number. But I definitely noticed that. Just the things you say and the way you say them, not only do you share things, but you're very encouraging and appreciative of other people. And so I think that's why the staff chose, I don't pick member of the month. I don't know if a lot of people don't know that. I don't pick member of the month. Once in a while when there's a log jam or a tie, I step in. Other than that, it's the staff that picks member of the month. And so, there's just a lot of things that you bring to the community. We talk about welcoming and people feeling welcome. You're a big part of that right now as a current member who's participating. So before we even start, thank you for doing that. Thank you for being a part of this community.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Really, it took me a while to find you, and in the end, actually, I think I just Googled Karate Forums, and of course, up you popped.
Yeah.
But
it's not an uncommon story. That's why the domain name was chosen once upon a time, because Google would give you more preferential ranking based on what was in the name, so people enter Karate Forums and they show up. But I love that you answered a question that we were going to ask already, which is how you found us. So you found us through Google. But what was it? Do you remember what you hit upon, or what the moment was like? I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna register.
Yeah, sure. Because I joined a couple of other forums, but they were pretty testosterone filled,
Okay, I do know.
And I'm sure most of the other guys that have, if you've been on other forums, you've probably noticed. And yeah, that weren't really what I was looking for. And I had a look at Karate Forums, had a quick flick through some of the posts there, and then just joined straight away because I figured this sounds more like me. And yeah, so I sort of consider it my my internet karate forum home, I guess.
Well, we're glad that you have made it your home. And when you, let's say if you talk to someone about KarateForums.com, if you were describing the community to them, how would you, like, if you're pitching someone on joining, what would that look like? How would you describe it?
I'd just say that it's a very friendly forum with respectful posts and a lot of good information. Well, actually, what do you say? I say all meat, no filler. If you know what I'm saying. So you know, practical answers, and there's so much experience to draw on out of the community that pretty much, if you put something up there, you're going to get a lot of feedback that you can take from it what you will. And I don't know, I just find it really practical and yeah, no, it's just
Awesome.
There's no nonsense, you know.
I like that, no nonsense. That could be our tagline too, no nonsense.
Good memes coming out of today. So we kind of talked about your home online is Karate Forums. Where is home for you? What style? Where do you train at when you're not online?
Okay, so I'm in the South Island of New Zealand in a pretty small town, about 2,500 people, I guess. There's only one style in our town, but I do Sato Karate, headquarters out of New York City. It's traditional karate, so that's kind of what I like. I did Shotokan when I was in high school, and yeah, joined the military straight after school, and sort of kept an interest through my life, but never really was been a bit transient as far as places I've lived around the world. So, and so I've only been back at karate for about 2 years, actually, to be honest. But I'm enjoying it, doing it with my daughter. Martial arts down here is obviously UFC has made all sorts of martial arts more popular. We see a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu type stuff setting up, but we don't really get to make dojos down here. I don't think it's a sort of different way of thinking down here. Most of karate and TKD and all that sort of stuff, they're doing it out of community halls and that sort of thing. People aren't really running it as a business or as a primary business. Yeah, so yeah, I do my karate with my daughter and enjoying it a lot. I'm just regretting that I didn't get back into it sooner, but hey, it is what it is, and I'll just keep doing it.
How old's your daughter that you train with?
She's just about 11 now, and in fact it was her that got back into it first. I knew there was karate in town, and I was actually away at working, and yeah, I think I Skyped her that night, and she said, "Oh, I went to karate," and so I thought, "Oh, well, that's the sign. I better get back into it." So as soon as I got back home, a couple of weeks later, I started up again, and yeah. Her biggest complaint is that when we're at karate, it's like she says, Dad says that it's like I don't exist. I said, "Oh, I'm paying attention to what to what we're being taught." But she gets the picture now. So no, it's good.
It's good focus.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So how has, and I know you've been here online a little bit shorter time than some of the other guests, but how is KF, or like, and I'm sorry I abbreviate a lot, it's just I'm in BJJ, PTK, we abbreviate everything. When you've been at Karate Forums, even through this amount of time, how has that shaped any part of what you do with the martial arts, or what you do with karate? How has it affected your journey in karate?
How to affect my journey.
You can say it hasn't. You know, honesty is encouraged here. You can say, you know what, it really hasn't. I've only been here a year, and you know, I've got some good answers and had some good discussions, but really, my journey's unchanged.
Well, no, to be honest, it's I travel a lot for work, and internationally, and it's definitely made me want to, from people I've met in the forum anyway, JR, for example, I'd love to visit him in his dojo and train there. I'm close to Arizona and California at certain times of the year, so I'd love to pop in and see, you know, Sensei and all that, and people like that. So as far as that goes, it just, yeah, I just like to catch up with, you know, other people on the forum.
That's awesome. And there actually is. There's a lot, and like I do have like a wish list of people I want to travel and meet from the forum. Absolutely. Who stands out on the forum? Who do you like to see when you like log on? Who do you like gravitate toward to see answers, or who's affected you? Who do you want to go and dig into their post once you jump on?
Normally JR. JR, he does the same style as me, and we've PM'd quite a bit as well, just comparing notes and things. We're about the same level in Sado. Sensei 8, I love the way he basically confides in karate forums and shares his, you know, some pretty deep thoughts and stuff, and so I sort of like, you know, there's another side. It made me realise there's another side to the whole martial arts thing, you know, and rather than just the technique and physical stuff, there's also a lot of, you know, organisational stuff that you got to consider. So most of my contribution isn't so much technical, but it's more sort of based on life and experience in general, you know.
Right. Now, did you know JR previous to the forums, or was that a relationship you built once you were here?
With JR?
Yes.
Yeah, that was I just found him, yeah, through the forums. So. But he's probably pretty busy this week. We've got they're celebrating our 40th anniversary there up in somewhere in New York.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned JR, because he is a great member in the community. I'm looking at my cell phone. I wouldn't do that, but it would be rude if we were having a conversation. But the reason I'm looking at it is because he sent me a text earlier because he wanted to be here today, but unfortunately the tournament that he's involved in today has been was delayed. So he wasn't able to make it, but I'm sure he appreciates the mention. Definitely a great member in the community. Also, like yourself, another recent great member. Was one of the reasons I wanted to have him on. He joined May 10th, 2015, so he's only been here a year. But in that time has made he's made 899 posts, and just a wonderful member in the community. So it's been great to have you on, Boltar. Colin, I'll call you Colin. It's been great to have you on, Colin. Before you go, do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
No, just thanks to everybody that posts in the forums, and hope you guys don't mind. I consider it my sort of quasi-internet home, really, and keep posting the good stuff, and yeah, I'm sure it's just gonna stay the same, and basically be a quality place to hang out.
Well, thank you, sir. And with members like you, hopefully we can keep going at the same level of quality for another 1, 5, maybe even 15 years. So thank you very much, and thank you for joining us today.
Righto. Good talking with you.
Bye-bye. All right, and we have our next guest already, which is awesome, and we've got this already lined up. And for some reason, I have lost. Why can't I unmute people? Is it you, Alex? I don't know. Can you unmute people?
I'm checking right now. I can't unmute him either.
Can you unmute yourself, Lex? If there should be like a mic on your screen. If you press it, you should unmute. It might be highlighted by red right now. Why if it's not possible? I'm trying to find it. It should be right here. Why can't I do that? So weird. there like a keyboard shortcut? I'm like doing random weird things here. All right, can Lex, since you got in, can you just close this and come right back? The same way, thank you. So yeah, we'll wait for him to circle back in on us. But that was great. I mean, it's really great to have you know, what we have at KarateForums.com is a really good flow of new people. And there's always like, you can look at any period of time, any year, any 6 month, 12-month period, and you'll be able to find a group of great members that have come out of that period. And I think you have someone like Boltar who just came on. You've got someone like JR137, who's just an amazing member who's just posted a lot of amazing things. And I think we have Lex back. Welcome.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. You sound great. Sound great.
Yeah,
look great.
Yeah, no, it said you muted me, so I figured I was making noise or something.
Yeah, I muted you when you first came in, just so because there's background noise, you know, when you have people on. So I was like, I'm just gonna mute him since we're gonna talk.
No,
to
I figured.
first.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, awesome. I'm glad you can make it. Luther Unleashed is our next guest. Joined the community January 30th, 2014. Has 1,746 posts. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a great number of posts. Member of the month June 2015. 4 nominations in the KarateForums.com awards. Lex, welcome to the live stream.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So, you know, first of all, thank you for being a member of the community, for being a great contributor to the community. I'm sorry, I read your post count wrong. You have 488. That makes more sense to me. I was like, that's a lot. That's a different data point. Yeah. That's a different data point on my screen. But those 488 posts, you made them count. And, you know, I always recognize when you post, and because I read a lot of the posts on the KarateForums.com. And, you know, just the quality of the contributions that you have, the way you say those things, it's very much appreciated. So thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. I try to. I'm kind of a direct person anyway, so I think my posts kind of in a way reflect who I am. You know what I mean? So I'm not really afraid to say stuff and afraid to kind of challenge ideas and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So. Direct
but not rude, which is important. You know, there's directness, and you know, because we come across members in the community who are rude to people, and they say to me, "Well, I'm just blunt. I can't help it." And I say to myself, "Well, then I guess you can't help yourself to this community because you know it's just not going to work that way, right?" So I totally respect that as someone who is also direct. I can't even remember if we've talked in the past regarding moderation issues, but if we have, you probably note that I told it what was going on. So I totally respect that.
Yeah, sure.
I totally respect that. So when you think about KarateForums.com, what comes to mind for you?
Well, over the last few months, more recently, I guess it's been more just, you know, now that I've pretty much opened up my first actual dojo. I was in a rec center before that for about 1.5 years.
Congratulations.
So yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, lately I've been kind of bouncing off a lot of ideas, kind of seeing what people think about certain things. And I think it's a really great it's a great way to reach out to people. The members of that community are all over the world. Everyone's had different experiences, and I think it's a great it's like a pot of gold in that sense. You know what I mean? Just somewhere to kind of reach for great ideas. I think it's really awesome. A lot of experience there for sure. So
yeah, I like that. There's another slogan, pot of gold. Coming up with a lot of descriptions for the community. I like this. Now, do you remember how you found the community or what made you want to join?
You know what? I was a member of a forum before that was it was sort of just like a chat thing, and I really hadn't had a lot of experience before. But everything was pretty random, and I just I started searching for it, I guess. I think I came across another one first. It was like martial talk, something, I don't know, but just didn't appeal to me the same way. You know what I mean? So just kind of read through some of the posts, seemed like it was up my alley. You know, so stuff my wife doesn't want to hear me talk about.
So you had talked about opening schools, or your first school you were in moving from the community city. What style are you into right now? What's your driving force, and what else have you experimented with?
Experimented with as far as just styles?
The arts, yeah. Like, yeah, what other arts have you been part of or cross-trained in that you have interest in?
Yeah, well, I've done a lot, actually. I've bounced around quite a bit. I bounced around quite a bit when I first got started many years ago, you know what I mean? And I found a home mostly in Tang Soo Do. So, you know, basically, I started out kind of kickboxing, taekwondo, some jeet kune do, stuff like that. But karate seemed to be just more, I guess, up my alley. So I still do a little bit of everything, kind of mix it in with what I teach. But I do keep Tang Soo Do as kind of the main thing that I teach. So.
Gotcha. And how is that going, the new school? I know there have been a couple threads up that we've talked about on it. How's that going so far for you?
Not bad. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame than a recreation center. I'll tell you that. So, I can't complain. I mean, I'm sitting on probably about 15 students. Not really gonna be enough ultimately. So I'm just still pushing, and again, just trying to, I look for a lot of ideas. New ways to do it. I've gotten a lot of great input off of the forum, you know what I mean? So, definitely just in the middle of trying to make it right now. It's kind of where I'm at, so.
Right, and I hear where you're coming from there. In regard to the forum and ideas, how has Karate Forums affected either your martial arts since you've been a member? I know you've got a shorter lead span on this than other people. You haven't been on the forum as long. But has there been any effect on either what you do as an artist based on the forum, or what you do as a business owner based on discussions that have gone on the forums?
Well, yeah, a lot as a business owner, no question about it. As far as, I would say as a martial artist, not exactly. I think if there was more...
Get off this stream right now.
Interaction.
You're no longer welcome here. You're no longer welcome on the community. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, please continue. I'm just joking.
I was going to say, I think if there was more, like I started a thread a long time ago that was, where people can post their videos and stuff. If there was more interaction that way, I think that stuff really gets me going as a martial artist, kind of talking about the differences and, kind of being able to see and other people and what they're doing. I think that's pretty neat. But, as a business owner, it's affected me as a teacher. I would say more than a business owner, as a teacher, tremendously. I mean, again, I kind of did the same thing when I was just looking for new ideas for kids back in the day. I made a thread about it, just for searching for ideas, and somebody had posted something about tag, kind of, putting that into a game, making, just kind of come up with fun ideas to make a better class. And I've honestly taken stuff like that and tried it out, and some of it's worked and some of it's been like, I'm not doing that again. And that's kind of it. But it's affected me to the point where it's interesting to know that, I go off to class and I've literally done things that somebody has suggested in the forum. And I think that's kind of a cool experience. You know what I mean? So. Absolutely.
Who stood out over the time that you've been part of the Karate Forums? Who stood out as posts you like to read, as influential? Who's been effective on there for you?
Well, I don't want to sound like the last gentleman that was just on. I didn't catch his name, but basically, it's kind of the same thing. JR137. I really like his posts. Also Sensei 8. So just to kind of mirror that, and then also Bushido Man. I like his posts as well. And then some oddballs here and there of some certain posts that I see, but that's just in general, kind of. You know what I mean?
Right. So where do you see yourself going as a martial artist from here? Now that you've got your school open, do you see yourself continuing to push in Tang Soo Do? Do you see yourself bringing in other? Do you see yourself bringing in other partners, bringing in other arts? You're just going to continue to kind of let your background influence the Tang Soo Do that you do? Where do you see yourself going as an artist now that you've got your school open, more so than a business owner? Where do you see yourself going along your martial arts journey?
Well, I sort of am going on the same journey, to be honest, because I started out with a very open mind, because my history, starting with Jeet Kune Do, I was about 17 years old. That was about being very open-minded, kind of finding things that form to you. So I've always kind of been that way. So even now, the way I teach, I call what I teach integrated Tang Soo Do, because I want people to know that I add things to it, and I add things from my experience. So in my mind, I still like to learn new things. I'm hoping to actually start Wing Chun Kung Fu in the near future. I've always had kind of a thing for it. I really like it. So I'm open to just kind of doing new things and exploring and adding new material and eventually turning that into curriculum.
Very cool, very cool. Brian Bushido Man 96 in the chat said thank you for the mention, and also it's great to see you. So definitely some mutual respect there. Before it's been great to have you on. Before you go, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
That's a tough question. I don't think so. I mean, I really appreciate. Am I kicked out again?
No, you're good.
I'm just kidding.
No, sorry.
No, I meant because you keep telling everybody they're out of the forum. That's
what I tell everybody. Get out. Yeah. That's how I built it.
But no, I feel I'm just real happy that to be a part of the community. There's I go through lulls sometimes where I don't post a whole lot, and I think everybody just kind of gets busy. But I always kind of eventually come back to it. Like I said, when my wife gets tired of hearing it. But no, really, it's a lot of fun. And so hopefully it doesn't go anywhere, and hopefully we continue to just make it what it is. Good place. So.
Awesome, thank you, sir. It's it's great to thanks for being a part of it, and thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. So our next guest should be joining now. And we'll have him on shortly. We have two more guests to wrap up the day. I guess we'll have to complete the Holy Trinity. Is what we're calling it now. I think it's awful because it kind of I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's respectful of everything else, right? But yeah, I mean, I get it. So hopefully we can get Bob on here, and then we'll get Brian Bushido Man 96 on here through my high-tech telephone. Right here, that's saving the day somehow. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun so far. I thought it would be interesting to take a quick look at the KarateForums.com awards because we have this kind of, speaking of history, we have this great retrospective of the past winners of the awards. And I love the awards because it's the community recognizing people and saying, like, these are great contributors in these sections. And so members in the community nominate for the awards. Members of the community vote for the awards. It's not chosen by me or the staff. I mean, we have a vote. We have a nomination, just like everyone else. But it's the community as a whole coming together to honor people. So we've been doing the awards since 2002. So again, that's 14 years of doing the awards. And, it's just amazing to look at the numbers. Like we've 138 unique members have received 387 nominations for 100 different awards. 44 members have won a total of 114. It's more than 100 because of ties. And there's been 1,523 total votes cast over that period of time. So it's a lot of votes, a lot of nominations, lot of, even being nominated, I think is a wonderful thing because it means someone thought of you enough to put your name in there, because you have to actually type your name. Like, it's not just automatically there. Like, they have to think of you and choose you. So, we have the most. Bob has won 16 awards, which is an amazing number. 16 and been nominated for 22. Brian has 13. You, Alex, have 11. Danielle has 7. Hawk Moon, Master Pain, Monkey Girl have 4 each. So, I mean, that's just kind of the top 5 tiers. Nominations, but Brian has 36 nominations, which is just crazy to me. And not to say he doesn't deserve it, but it's like, it's just such a high number of times. 36 different award nominations. Bob 22, you 20. Those are all super high numbers. Danielle 19, Heidi 11. Yeah, I mean, it's just a really amazing thing, and I just love doing that every year. It's one of the most fun things that I think we do on an annual basis is the award program, and I love updating that page with the new honors. And I don't know, I've never won an award because I take myself out. On that note, I'm happy no one is mentioning my post when you ask for members, because there might be a pressure here to say, because I'm standing right here, that just throw my name in there. But people are being honest. Like, you shouldn't mention my post. I don't even talk about the martial arts. Like you can exist on KarateForums.com and possibly never even know who I am, unless if you skip the announcements forum, right? I might not, and you skip general chat. Like, I pop into the martial arts once in a while. I read a lot, but I post rarely. So I appreciate the honesty that people aren't like giving us the answer that, oh, Patrick's posted valuable. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not that valuable. So, I do appreciate the honesty. But the reason I say that is, as someone who has won an award many times, maybe you could speak to what that feels like. What is it like when you have won these awards, and you've won a lot now?
you know, the awards process is really neat. It's a lot of fun, but for me, the big thing about it is like you're recognized by your peers, by people that are trained in the arts. They're out there just as much as you are, if not more, on the mats, grinding away every day. They're the people that are doing the same things as you are. Maybe not the same arts, but they're putting in the same work, the same effort, the same mindset. They love it as much as you do, and they're reading your thoughts on the martial arts, and they're the ones saying, wow, we really like this, and we think this is a valuable post. And that means a lot. That means so much more than I think being selected by the moderators or being selected, you know, by you. I think, you know, no offense, it's awesome that it's from the standpoint of the people that are out there on the mats every night grinding away. And it means a lot when they look at your post and see something valuable there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting to hear. I mean, I think it is a wonderful thing, and no offense taken. It does mean more than being selected by me for something. Certainly no offense taken. Yeah. So let's see if our next guest is close. Brian, can I call you? I'm gonna check and see if we can move forward to Brian and maybe come back to Bob. So let's see. Oh yeah. There were a couple good comments in the chat room, I should say. Devin Lupin 1 said, "You're great on game threads," to me. So that's a backhanded compliment if there ever was one. But if that was meant jokingly, I love it. If it was meant seriously, I appreciate it. Either way, no matter how you meant that, sarcastically or seriously, I appreciate it. And John Zane said, "You make a great point here, Alex. Community is really important." Is a really important part of keeping on, knowing that you're connected with someone who is either going through the same thing or has gone through the same point is a great thing to have. It sure is. It sure is. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and try to call Brian.
Super low-tech solution to a high-tech.
Yeah, here we go. You hear the beeps? Beep, beep.
They still make a landline phone? Is that?
Yeah, they do. It's proof of it. I mean, it's wireless, but Devin says she was totally serious, so I appreciate that. In that case, I appreciate that. All right, it's like connecting to the old dial-up internet.
Hello.
Is this Brian?
This is.
Hey, Brian, it's Patrick. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? We're on a little bit of a time delay here.
We'll be fine. Could you do me a favor, though, and mute the computer?
Yeah, just a second.
Thanks.
I'll have to get the volume down. Oop. Is this Brian? This is.
I can hear my voice coming through now, just to know what the delay is.
There we go.
Perfect. That's great. So, Brian, a member of, I guess, the Holy Trinity. Bushido Man 96, a member who, let me see here.
Hold on just a second here.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of things going on in Brian's house right now. You know, no matter what you do with this kind of stream, there's always things trying to sabotage it. Dogs, internet, technology, landline phones, everything. Are you back now, Brian?
Yeah, I think I'm here.
Okay, great. So sorry about the dog attack. I didn't mean to trigger that at the sound of my voice. But yeah, it's great to have you on. Brian, proper introduction here. Bushido Man 96 joined the community March 31st. 2006. So 10 years this year, just this past March, has made 26,069 posts. My goodness, Brian. That's an amazing number, the most of anyone all time. And of course, it's not just being number one all time, it's that they represent great quality. Member of the month, May 2006. Staff member since July 31st, 2006. So staff member, 10 years. In this year, 10 years this year then. I hope I have that number right. Yeah, I think I do. And then it's just amazing. 36 nominations in the KarateForums.com awards. I was just talking about that with Alex. Just an insane amount of recognition from the community. 13 KarateForums.com award wins. And with that said, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, even though it's through less than technologically advanced.
Yeah, it's through old Mob Bell. Yeah. So, but Alex can hear you. If Alex has anything to say, I'll reiterate it to you. So, Brian, when you think about KarateForums.com, as someone who has thought about it a lot, really, 26,000 posts, which we appreciate, which everyone appreciates, I think. What comes to mind for you?
It's Karate Forums has got to the point now with me where it's just part of what I do, especially within the martial arts. I mean, a lot of people, they get into the martial arts, and then the more time they spend in them, it becomes a part of what they do all the time and everything that they do. And Karate Forums has got to the point where it's melded in with my martial arts experience overall. And I take it with me everywhere. I know, like lately, I've had a tough time getting on as much as I used to, but I'm always thinking about when I'm doing things, especially when it's involving the martial arts. I think about always trying to bring this stuff back to the community where I can share it with people who share the same interests that I do. And I know that if I share it here, that I'm going to get great discussions on it, no matter what somebody's points are going to be.
Very cool. I mean, I think that's probably why you're such a thoughtful member, thinking about what you can bring back to the community to share. That's amazing. I think it's interesting when an online community, a website, whatever, can become part of what it is, your martial arts experience. And I think that's true for a lot of our veteran members, a lot of members who have stuck around for a long time, that it's kind of core to their martial arts being, to sound a little philosophical, but kind of their core martial arts experience is coming to the community, sharing what they know, learning, not just taking the dojo to the forum and sharing, taking their school, their lessons and sharing what they learn, but also taking what they learned from the community and sharing it back with their instructors, their students, their classmates. I think it's just a whole well-rounded experience.
Yeah, I agree. It works. I mean, it reciprocates so well. If I have thoughts that I come up with here, I can take them out elsewhere, and I can talk to some of my other colleagues about. We can mull things over that way. But then at the same time, I have some limited contacts in my area where we have a lot of people who are martial artists. I have fewer that are focused in like a defensive tactics theme with law enforcement. And as I'm sure Alex can attest to, in the martial arts world, you have this great big world of, and you have all kinds of possibilities. But then when you take the martial arts and you shrink it into the world of defensive tactics, where we become more limited in how we can respond to things and what we can do and stuff like that. It's great to be able to talk to instructors or, experienced martial artists about things like that. But you got to really have somebody with a defensive tactics background to bounce other things off of too. So it's great to be able to come here into the community where I have someone like Alex, and then, we have other people as well who have had dabblings, things like that. And I can really get more specific with how I want to talk about different things. So, it works both ways for me here.
Very cool. Alex, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think it's when you start talking about that, it's just such a specialized realm to deal with. When you start moving into police use of force and defensive tactics, it is really good to find those people that you can talk about. Typically, and Brian, you can share your thoughts on this as well, please. Like, you have a lot of really good martial artists, but they don't always understand use of force law. And then you'll have people that have a pretty good understanding of the law, but really can't fight their way out of wet paper bags. So finding people that can do both and can communicate that and can provide instructional assistance is pretty rare, and it's a pretty great thing to have access to.
Do you hear any of that, Brian?
Yeah, and I agree with him. I mean, there's so much crossover in the martial arts world, and then, at the same time, there can be times where the crossover isn't as great, and that's defensive tactics use of force for us as law enforcement officers is one of those times. And we have to, it's good to know everything and to have as many things as you can in your toolbox, but then just as important is getting the right tool out of the toolbox at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy for a lot of things, including moderation. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, we can joke around about me kicking people off the forums, but it doesn't happen all that often. Come on, guys. Back me up here. Yeah, so again, 10 years ago, but do you remember what led you to KarateForums.com? What kind of hooked you originally, how you found it?
When I went looking originally, I was looking for a martial arts chat room. I guess what I was looking for initially was something kind of like what we're doing right now, where it would be martial arts focused chatter back and forth, and it would be like same time, chat room stuff. And when I looked, I didn't see anything that looked great, and I didn't see anything that looked active, really. And then, the more I thought about it, you just never know when you're going to link up on there, at the same time with other people, stuff like that. So when I did my internet searches for it, I didn't find anything really that was going to fit what I wanted there, but KarateForums.com came up. And I thought, well, okay, I'll take a look at it. And I looked at it, and I started reading through it and, saw some different stuff, different posts here and there. And I can't remember an exact post that grabbed my attention off the top of my head. And one of the things that I thought about was, well, I like this, it's cool, but I wonder, it's not going to be the real-time, chatter that I was kind of looking for. But as I got into it, I read more and I saw the discussions. I decided, I'm going to give this a try, and started reading through, and I, started making responses and stuff like that. And then after that, I just kind of got hooked because everybody that was at the community was respectful. The discussions we had were meaningful. Even though it wasn't the real-time discussion I was looking for, it was, in my opinion, it was just as good because everything was so thought out, and everybody was great to chat with. So that's how I stumbled across Karate Forums. Was initially looking for chat rooms, and it came up and actually fit better than any chat room would have done for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned that because we have a chat for this, and there's a reason we don't do chat rooms in general. And we've talked about this before, possibly maybe in the staff forums, but just the idea that first of all, chat rooms are much harder to moderate because they're live, and so you have to have someone there to actually properly moderate them at the time because chat rooms are very much in the moment, being there. The people who are there are ones experiencing it, so the content doesn't live on. The conversations don't live on. If we had a chat room, we couldn't look back on 15 years of history and think about these old threads and then go find them. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be possible or it wouldn't be easy. And so, because chat rooms just don't work that way. So there's a word people use, it's asynchronous to describe this unnecessary word that basically means the conversation's there for anyone to join in at the time that works for them. So, we have these forums where people can come back. If you're not here this moment, you can come back tomorrow and see the conversations from the last day and say okay, this is a great conversation. I want to jump in, and you don't feel weird. Where if you're in a chat room, you can't really go back a day. That conversation's over. It's dead. People have moved on now. You can't go back in a way that people appreciate. So it just provides the forum format. Hosted communities like this provide just a deeper way to build community than chat rooms. And I come from an era where I was in the old AOL chat, Yahoo chat rooms, I should say, not AOL, Yahoo chat rooms where, I would be talking to people about different things. And I don't have one memory of those, other than just I was there. I can't remember a specific discussion, but I can definitely remember specific discussions, not just in staff, but in the public forums that have existed on KarateForums.com, even ones I haven't participated in myself. So I think that's a really interesting and great point.
Yeah, and I think another thing, and I think it might be something that kind of gets taken for granted, is the existence of all the content on the forum that we can go back and you can look. And I've gone back and I've looked we brought up a couple of the different threads here, Danielle mentioned the junior black belt thread that she was initially drawn to. And I know that junior black belt discussion, it pops up every so often because, we cycle through users at different times. We get new people that come in and our threads cycle through. So sometimes some of the old ideas will pop back up. And that's a good thing because it reignites an old discussion, and we may have different feelings about it because we may have grown and we may have learned different things or experienced different things. And that's what's great about the content here is we have our history. It's here. We can go back and look at it. And like, I can make a comment on the Junior Black Belt forum thread that popped up last week, let's say. And somebody will say something. I'll make a comment on it based on where I'm at now in my martial arts journey, my career and all that, and my experiences. I can go back and I can read that first one that Danielle mentioned, and I can read through it and go, huh, I've changed. And it's great to see that, you know. And, you know, a lot of people will say that they, you know, maybe they don't change or, you know, they think the same way all the time. But something like this allows you really to go back and look and say what you've learned, what you haven't learned, if you have changed or not.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. In the chat, Danielle DWX says, I think forums you have to consider your response to it as it exists for a long time. Chat room, less thought goes into it. And Zane, and it also gives you the opportunity to think out your post without feeling that it will be irrelevant by the time you finally post it. And Danielle says, people post a more considered answer rather than any old waffle. Well said. I agree with all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, tell people, I mean, a lot of people listening probably know by now, but tell us about the art you practice right now.
I'm a Taekwondo practitioner, a lot like Danielle, but a lot different from Danielle as well. I got my start in the American Taekwondo Association, the ATA, and I know that's always fun to talk about because people will see that, and I can just imagine them sitting at their computers and the little light bulb goes off above their head or the exclamation mark and saying, huh, he was an ATA guy, because it's an organization that oftenly gets referred to as a McDojo organization.
Right, right.
And so it's always interesting to hear what people say, and then I have my experiences to share as far as it goes with that. That's where I started. I started there, I believe, in 1990, I think it was 93 or 94. I was an 8th grader is when I started. Moved through the ranks there. I eventually became a 2nd degree black belt, and I went to their instructor certification camp and became a certified instructor, and I ran a school for a time in my hometown. So I run through the gamut there. I was a colored belt, young kid, and then, you know, become a young adult and running my own business essentially. So I learned a lot from that experience. Then when I moved to go to college, actually I went to 2 years of junior college in my hometown, and then I moved to my current location in Hayes and finished my college out here. And then I didn't bring a franchise with me, so to speak. I didn't come and bring my own Taekwondo school to set up or anything like that. So I had to kind of look around and see what I wanted to do here in my new town. And I kind of wandered a little bit. There were a couple there was a little dojo that had just a few members, and we would frequent that from time to time, me and my roommate. And so we did some training through there, went through some tournaments actually with the small organization. And then later on, I found that there was actually a club, a Taekwondo club, that was put together and was being run by the association that was here in town. It was ran as a class at the college. So I was able to get a certain amount of credit hours for actually taking a Taekwondo class. And so I decided to enroll in that. I'd gone down and me and a friend of mine were playing racquetball one time, and we were walking through the halls, and we saw in the dance room, white uniforms and Taekwondo instructor and leading the class. So watched them in the class, like what I saw, talked to the instructor afterwards, and then shortly thereafter signed up for the credit hour class. And I've been with that association. It's called the PTA, the Traditional Taekwondo Association. I've been with that one ever since.
Very cool. And it's interesting that you mentioned like recurring themes, because as a member who's been around for a long time, and a lot of people in listening can attest to this, that, there are recurring discussions. You mentioned the junior black belt one. That's certainly one I've seen. The idea of children, kids, teenagers having belts, especially having a belt that is colored black, is a recurring theme. For sure in the community. You talk about certain organizations that come up repeatedly regarding claims of being a McDojo. There's the McDojo fever, you could say, that's maybe a little bit of a Red Scare, like the search for communists, the hunt for McDojos, which very much are real and exist. And it's a serious issue, and I get it. But yeah, I mean, there's those recurring discussions. But I think what you said is very true, in that, as you stated, it's normal, natural, healthy for these discussions to pop up from time to time and to refresh with new people. Part of the challenge of a community that's been around this long is keeping the interest of established members, while also being able to welcome newer members and have them discuss things that don't annoy the old members. So we have a good group of people who are patient and understanding with those discussions. Understand that you can just skip those. Like if you don't want to talk about junior black belts again, you can let the other people discuss it this time. Like there's a new generation to discuss it. But yeah, it's definitely something that that happens. So, Brian, in your time here, again, you've been here since 2006. So when you joined, where were you at in the martial arts as opposed to now as far as rank or experience level?
Oh, let's see. In 2006, you see, was that my join date? Is that what you said it was?
Yep. I think May 2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know why I'm being so specific here for you. It's it is March 31st, 2006.
Okay.
Look up that specific date in your history, Brian, and tell us exactly where you were.
And I have to tell you, I am terrible with dates. Just terrible with them. I was a black belt. I think I was probably a first degree it was at least a first degree at my new association. First degree black belt there. Was going to class pretty regularly, probably 3-4 times a week, helping out with classes and also competing a little bit, not much. Competition was never what I was great at, but I did do it a little bit. Also at that time, in May of 2006, I started my job with the sheriff's department that I work for now. So I've been going along, and I've been in Taekwondo solely, for that many years. And I get into law enforcement, and so I kind of have a pull towards the defensive tactics side of things, although it would take a while before I'd actually get anything accomplished there as far as any kind of training. But the more I think about it then at that time, my focus starts to change to how I take what I've learned and really apply it effectively to the job I'm going to be doing. So whereas a lot of people, they get into art for the art's sake, and they and they like that and they enjoy that, all the nuances and intricacies involved with like either the history or the methodologies and stuff like that. I enjoyed that stuff. I always liked it, but I also wanted to really start focusing things so that they would be practical for me. Because as you know, things for law enforcement officers were always scrutinized a lot. There's always Monday morning quarterbacking that goes on a lot after officers are involved in some kind of use of force issue, and then they have to answer questions. They have to answer a slew of questions that somebody, like usually an attorney, has spent hours devising questions about an incident that you had to make a snap decision on in less than a few seconds that results in either, saving your own life, saving someone else's life, or something to that effect. So that's the way my focus has turned, is to dealing more with things like that, trying to be focused on what's going to work and how I can make it work the most efficiently. And then I have to be able to make sure that I can help show others how to use it as well, how to do it. And that's really kind of how things have evolved for me, from being a one style type of person and really enjoying my style and looking into it and dedicating myself to it, and then moving to where, okay, maybe my style doesn't have exactly what I need. So where do I find what I need and incorporate it into what I already do?
Cool. All right, Alex has something for you.
Yeah, Brian, sorry. I hope you can hear me. Kind of to follow up on that, how do you see that jobs change moving into law enforcement? How has that affected your technique selection and application of Taekwondo? And when you look at some of the other arts you've started to integrate, I know you dabbled in Aikido for a while, and we talked about that a little bit. how did the job change and the mission change affect the technique selection and your training methodologies in Taekwondo? And then how much do you see yourself importing things from other arts to deal with that?
Excuse me. Technique selection and training on that has changed dramatically. Especially, you know as well as I do, but once you put that belt and that vest on and you go to work, you're not head kicking anybody. And then aside from that, head kicking somebody can lead to some use of force issues. So things like that change quite a bit. The versions of Taekwondo that I've been doing have been primarily striking with some joint manipulation involved, but a lot of the joint manipulation is very static. And initially in my job, I found I had issues with trying to get some joint manipulation stuff to work because the people we deal with, they aren't static. So things changed there. So not only technique selection, but then the training methodology, trying to incorporate things to where they're not as static, they're more scenario-based and situation-based and stuff like that. And then the other part of it is looking into things that are as opposed to if somebody does this, you respond with this technique. You want to be able to have concepts in place that allow your techniques to vary in order to adapt to what you have going on. But you have the same concepts in place so that the goal is always the same, and you form everything around getting that goal accomplished. I've seen a lot of that in the Krav Maga training that I've done. They're really big on making sure that that their defenses are set up to be as a natural reaction as possible. They're natural, and whether, let's take like a choke defense, let's say, whether you're getting choked from the front or from behind or from the side, all the defenses are going to have very similar parts so that the concept for each one is the same no matter where the attack's coming from. That way it's easier for you to process it, to react, and to accomplish your goal, as opposed to having 17 or 18 different things that you do. Like if somebody grabs your lapel, do this, or if they cross grab your wrist, do that. Things like that, I think, it's really changed the way I approach defense and offense as far as law enforcement training and stuff like that is concerned. And then from there, the other things you also consider is how the range of your combat can change and how things can change as far as the use of force goes. Because you can start out where somebody is trying maybe just to resist by running away. So that becomes a deal where you got to chase someone down, and then it goes from running away, resisting, to them actively struggling against you and resisting you from trying to put them under arrest or something like that. So your use of force level changes in a heartbeat, so you have to know where you are on the scale and where you can go. So you have to be able to transition from being hands-on to perhaps being hands-off to go into a different force option if things change, like a taser or pepper spray or even your handgun, heaven forbid, and things like that. Or, like I say, it could be as simple as closing with them, getting to the ground, and then getting them secured, or it can go the other way. So I have to look at what I'm learning, how I can make it transition in all areas, just like that with as far as taking somebody into custody or restraining them, or from them actively running away to actively fighting, and different things like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Alex says thank you. All right. So how has, Brian, I'm sure it hasn't helped at all. I'm sure it hasn't done anything for you. It's clear from your answers. But how has KarateForums.com aided you in your growth in the martial arts, if at all?
It's helped a lot because
that was sarcasm. I just want to be clear on that, Brian.
Yeah.
That was
it
extreme
was
dripping sarcasm from me. I apologize.
Dripping sarcasm, absolutely. No, it's helped me a lot. Like I said earlier, I take the thoughts and ideas of Karate Forum with me when I go to training. So anytime I'm training, I think about different discussions that I've had, on karate forums, things that pop up, like it could be at a seminar, like a Taekwondo seminar, and seeing kids running around with black belts on and how they're acting, what they're doing. And then I think about, the junior black belt spread, and okay, how does this experience that I'm having now, how does that reflect what's happened to me in the past, and what kind of discussion is this going to generate when I bring it back? When Karate Forums helped, it allowed me and Bob to actually get together, do training and discussions. I think we spent 3 days. Together training over the course of a weekend, training and talking to each other, working on different ideas behind kicking for Taekwondo, working on different concepts of tuite from Shindokan, things like that. And also, and aside from that, I mean, we had some great training. We had some fun experience together, but just getting to know each other and, becoming better friends and whatnot. That's been something that's impacted me as well.
Yeah, I mean, we met not to practice martial arts.
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
Well,
but
except that time you beat me up
in the city that year. Yeah, that was fantastic. And you were generous enough to pull me in on the discussion that we were having. I can't remember if it was on moderation or moderation and documentation, stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was fantastic too. And if it hadn't been for Karate Forums, those are experiences I probably wouldn't have got to have.
Yeah, I mean, I met you. That was PodCamp Topeka, that conference in Topeka, Kansas. I have met Greg Heinisch. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. G. Heinisch on the forums, a former staff member, a great guy. I've met him before. Who else have I met? I've met a few. I don't know. I think those are the two main people I've met. I look forward to kind of getting around and meeting some people. Speaking of people, are there any members? I'm sure there are a lot, but are there any members in the community who have stood out to you recently or in your time here?
There's so many. There's quite a few, and I know there's some that I've probably forgotten about too. Our current crew that we have right now, like with Alex and Danielle and Bob. And Bob and I met on Black Belt Magazine forums, the brief time that they ran.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard this story before, so I can recite it. You're the reason that Bob found the community.
Yeah, we talked quite a bit. We talked extensively, and I told him, hey, and I remember when I set up my account over there, I took a Karate Forums avatar as my avatar for my username on BlackBeltMagazine.com, so other people could see that, because I wanted people to know that Karate Forums was out there, and with the high quality of discussion that we always have over on Karate Forums, and on Black Belt there were some okay discussions that went on Black Belt, but it wasn't near the quality, and it wasn't near the moderation level either, the oversight to keep people in line and keep things from degrading and stuff like that. But Bob and Alex, like I said, Danielle, and also in there with Danielle, Iceman SK. We kind of talk together we get together in the Korean martial arts forums, and we all, three of us were kind of the Taekwondo trifecta, where we've all dabbled in a little bit of different things with Taekwondo. We can agree on some things, we disagree and discuss on some other things, but we really, what one of us hasn't had experience with, the other one knows something about, and just within our own little Korean martial arts corner there, we have some nice discussions there.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. We talk. It's KarateForums.com, but
right.
We're talking about, when we talk about you, and people talk about how your post affected them, like your TKD, like that's your background's Taekwondo, so that's where you're posting. Now, of course, you touch into those other sections, but if Brian, the TKD artist, didn't want to join KarateForums.com, he wouldn't have. Like, you didn't join it thinking I'm gonna take karate now, or that's gonna be my focus. Like, you're TKD, your Korean martial arts. Danielle's the same. Like, these are members that people identify with the community because of your amazing contributions, and you're there because you can post about Korean martial arts. It's not just karate. So I think that's kind of a really good good thing to reinforce.
And that's what I've really loved, is that even though I'm a Korean martial artist, Taekwondo guy, I can go in and look at the conversations that happen in the karate forums or in the Chinese martial arts forums or in the jiu-jitsu forums. And even if I have some limited knowledge on something, I can put what my experiences have been. And even though it's with somebody from a different martial art, we still have, great discussions with it. And they're all usually very positive contributions.
Yeah, definitely. So, Brian, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for, being such an amazing contributor within the community. Thank you for being a great staff member, a great supporter of the community as a whole. Really someone who embodies and encourages what KarateForums.com stands for. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on staff, and for helping me along really early in my Karate Forums membership, to get kind of making sure I was on the right track and stayed on the right track. And I can't imagine what it would be like if I didn't have it.
Well, it's my pleasure. So before you go, do you have anything else you want to add?
I really appreciate everybody that comes on this forum and contributes their thoughts. And just please keep coming, because those of us that have been around a while, I know I definitely don't know it at all. And I'm always looking to see somebody else's experiences and love to hear from it. So please, everybody, just keep coming back, keep posting, keep bringing your thoughts, so that I can keep getting better.
Awesome. Well, that's a great way to end it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you on the forum.
Okay, thanks, Patrick.
We're hands-free here. You see this tech? You see this tech here, Alex? I've literally got the phone wedged into this mount, the spider mount.
That's impressive work.
Yeah, perfect. And, I'd take out the earbud, put it in there, and we're good to go. So that was awesome. Great to talk to Brian. So our last guest is going to be Bob. And then we're going to wrap up. Alex might have some thoughts to share. Ask if he has some thoughts to share. I'll share some thoughts. I want to read some names, people that, when I was thinking about 15-year anniversary, members who have been impactful. Can't name everyone, but just a good list of names, and I want to get those people in there. So we'll go a little late. Right now we're at time we should end, but we'll go about, let's say, a half hour late, and that should give us enough time to talk to Bob, give some final thoughts, and say a proper goodbye. It's great everyone listening in. Thank you for listening in. I know 3 hours is a long time, or 3.5, because we want to get everyone in, and so let's go ahead and see if we can get Bob on here.
Drum roll.
Take my phone out of the high-tech mount. When I started the day today, I didn't even expect to pick up this phone. I didn't think this phone was going to be a factor today, but actually it's been a big factor. Good. We're good there. All right.
Well, there's always this way.
Yeah, there is. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Seeing that we can't do the desired way. Sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem.
I had it working yesterday.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you testing it yesterday. I don't know, but we're glad to have you on this way. And if Alex has any thoughts, I'll relay those, and I'm sure he'll let me know if he has any questions. But so Bob, Sensei 8 in the forums, joined the community quite a while ago. Joined the community through Brian, as we just discussed.
Again.
And where did there's your profile, February 23rd, 2008. And 11,115 posts, massive number of posts. Third all time, actually. Member of the month, October 2009. Staff member since November 15, 2011. So coming up on 5 years this year. 22 nominations in the awards, 16 wins. That's the most of anyone. An amazing amount of recognition from the community. Currently holder of the Community Spirit Award, Karate Contributor of the Year, and Instructor Central Contributor of the Year, which really gives you a perspective of where Bob contributes, I think, and really where he adds a lot of value. Just general spirit and support of the community, first of all. I think embodying the community, what it stands for. Also a big contributor in the Karate and Instructor Central forums, helping other instructors and school owners to effectively run their classes and manage their businesses. So, Bob, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
It's good to be here. It always is.
So, Bob, KarateForums.com. What does it mean to you?
Well, it's everything, because it allows me an escape valve, an escape. It gives me an escape valve to get away from the Shindokan inner circle, because Shindokan may be great, but it's not everything, and I need to sometimes step away from the madness that is the SKKA, and at times it can be more than I can even stand. So Karate Forums all these years has given me that avenue to get away from my responsibilities to the Shindokan, Hambu, and to Sensei when he was alive, and things like that. It's always great to converse with other martial artists, and especially those who aren't in Shindokan, because I've heard all I can hear about Shindokan, so you're really not going to tell me anything new. So I'm always open to things that are brand new. And so Karate Forums to me is that escape valve where I can step away from the SKKA and just breathe.
Yeah, so it's kind of speaking to the diversity, kind of a common theme today, talking to people, is that, it kind of gives you a different perspective, adds new perspectives to your life. You're obviously well versed in your art, well entrenched in your art, understand it pretty much everything, if not everything about it, and everything that goes into it and all the people in it. So it allows you to kind of get out of those circles and then find other viewpoints. So there's a lot of value there. Now, we talked about how you found the community. We know, I've heard the story. Brian showed you the community. Brian just goes around. He travels from city to city. No one knows this, but he travels via bus. I pay him. I pay his bus fare, and he gets a per diem. And he goes from city to city, town to town, and just wearing a KarateForums.com shirt. And he convinces people to join. No, so Brian was a poster on the Black Belt Magazine forums and had KarateForums.com in his avatar there. You saw it. Why did you follow Brian?
Well, see, on Black Belt Magazine, again, there was no big brother to watch us. They just kind of left us to our own, and I had no experience with it. So I was tripping all over myself just trying to just go from point A to point Z, just to learn how to communicate within that new venue, and that was brand new to me. Brian was that voice of reason, where when I got really frustrated, he would just come and just talk to me, because I get very frustrated. I was the moderator for the Karate Forums for Black Belt Magazine. Mm-hmm. And so he first told me he just kind of briefly mentioned one time about Karate Forums and how things are much better there than they are there at Black Belt Magazine. So I took a look at it myself, played with it for a little bit, but I didn't have that many posts in my beginning, because I was still trying to do what Black Belt Magazine was wanting us to do, which I still don't to this day know what they wanted us to do. I don't have a clue.
That's Brian. He's a good salesman. I'll tell you that. He's a good salesman for KarateForums.com, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick, you're very hands-on, where Black Belt Magazine was not. Matter of fact, they shortly closed when we all kind of walked away from it. And that forum, I don't know if that forum is still active, or if they try to bring new life into it. I don't know. I don't care, because I followed Brian into Karate Forums and said, hey, I got to give this a try. And this was 10,000 times much better than Black Belt Magazine.
Well, we're glad you found us. We're glad Brian is continually a funnel of people that he kidnaps and brings to the community now. No doubt. So you talk a lot in the forums about Shindokan, and you know a ton about it. So give people who might not have heard about it just a quick, how would you describe your martial art?
85% hands, 50% feet.
Okay. 50% hands, 50% feet. Straightforward enough. So it's a mix of, should people say that to be standing and ground, or how would you take the feet part? Kicking, I guess, kicking and punching, is that what you're saying?
Well, all our kicks are from the stomach down, and they're mainly just setups. The kicks are just setups for our hands.
Okay.
Our hands is everything that we do is with our hands. So the kicks to stop, to intercept, to direct. Just in my kicks, our kicks aren't really designed to be a finishing technique at all. Okay, yes, we kick, and I kick like a mule, but those kicks are just a setup. It's like, for example, if you're going to try to step towards me, well, I'm going to give you a quick, short kick to your shin, or to your knee, or to your side of your knee, just so I can get close enough and get behind you and take my hands and put them all over you.
Gotcha. So kicks are the setups, punches are the finishers, hands are the finishers. Got it.
Yes, kicks are setups, the hands are the finishers. And for very few karate styles, I'm not speaking for every karate style because I don't know every karate style. But Shinnecoin is big on grappling, which we call Takume. And so we're big on grappling. We're big on Tuite, which is joint manipulations, Kyusho Jitsu, which is hitting pressure points. And I'm still, after 52 years, I think Kyusho Jitsu is, well, I wouldn't use it if I was actually had to, because I can manipulate something on Alex, and he might react to it, but Brian won't, and vice versa. Not because I'm doing it wrong, but because the pain receptors are not as less than the other. I mean, there is one under the jaw that we use all the time, and I have not yet met anybody who can not be worked by that. It's directly under your jaw, and if you put straight up, I mean, that gets attention. That gets their attention. And I haven't met anybody that just sits there and goes, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. But more like grabbing my arm, my hand, and pulling it away from the jaw because it's very painful.
Right, right.
So again, the kicks set up the hands. The hands do the rest. But we're not afraid to be on the ground. We're not afraid to be on the ground. A lot of karate styles are afraid to be on the ground. They want to stay up as much as they can, but man, we're going to end there one way or the other. Get used to it.
So you joined the community again in 08, and you have a long 50-year plus career in the martial arts. If you want to call it a career or history, whatever you want to call it. But you have this long tenure in the arts. Where were you at in 08 when you joined, and is it any different from where you are today?
08, as far as Shinnecoin is concerned? Or,
yeah, as far as your history in the arts, like rank or experience level, over the last 8 years, what do you think your growth has been in the arts?
2008, I was Hachidan. I was 8th Dan. I was part of what was used to be called the Board of Regents. It's now only called the Regents. That was a Board of Regents was someone who were advisors to Soke and to Daisoke, and that's where I was at that time. I had not been advanced yet to or elected to the Kaicho position that I do have now. But 2008, I was 8th Dan in both. And I was a Hachidan in Karate-Do, and I was a Danadan in Kabuto in the weapons. In 2008, and I was just part of the Board of Regents. I was running my partner by then, my third school in Tulsa.
Very cool. So, I know in your time at KarateForums.com, you've interacted with a ton of members. And as we talked about on the show earlier, you were probably listening, but just, the post that, you made, Brian made, Alex has made, Danielle has made, even other members that are no longer active, like Sci-Fights MS, made so many great quality posts to where they are actively. That's the best, really the best way that we have to recruit new people is the posts that you all make. Because people see that and they see that this is the type of discussion they have here. And then we attract those like people who might disagree with you or might agree with you or might take a totally different art or take the same art. But it's those posts that attract people. So you really impacted and helped a lot of people through your posts here. But thinking about your time here and thinking about more recent times, are there any members that have stood out to you as far as what they brought to the community that you might want to mention here or recognize?
Well, I have to echo Brian. There are so many that come to mind that I would probably forget somebody that I shouldn't forget. But of course, yourself, everybody that's part of staff. There are like JR 137, Liam, Lex. There's a lot of them. And again, I'm going to do injustice to forget somebody who I shouldn't forget, but I do. But there are a lot that I navigate towards because I'll see their name. I want to read what they have to say. Whether I reply or not depends on the mood I'm in at that time. But there's just like Brian said, there's just way too many to not forget. I don't want to forget anybody, but there's too many. I mean, there's of course, like I said, of course, Lex and I even like, believe it or not, I know there's only 4 of us here right now, but if I can pronounce his name right, it's Kuzater.
Yep.
Kuzater.
Uh-huh.
And at first, I gotta be honest with you. At first, I wanted to choke him.
Right.
But now he is shown me someone that I want to listen to because he has that knowledge for one, but two, he seems to be not as bitter as I was. He doesn't seem mad. I mean, before he seemed like he was mad all the time. It kind of reminds me of myself when I first started here. I seemed like I was mad at everybody, and I wasn't.
So, no, I respect that. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough question to ask people to name specific people because, and we're after we say goodbye here, I'm gonna name some people from the community. But thank you for joining us, Bob. Thank you for being such an important part of the community, for the massive contributions that you made to the community, for being such a great member of staff. I really appreciate everything that you bring to the table. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for everything that you've done in the past and the present and in the future. And we'll see karate do it. We'll be around for another 15 years. I don't know if I'll be around for another 15 years, but I'm sure this will be around. And I just wish that I could got the hangouts to work better because I think the conversation would have been better. I seem to stutter and struggle harder with the words when I'm on the phone than I am when I'm face to face, and that's what I was really hoping for this time but it is what it is, and I'm gonna take my computer outside and see if I can make it.
Kick it first and then punch it. No, Bob, this has been great. This has been great. It's been great to talk with you. I think we've all enjoyed it. So thank you very much for taking the time, and I will talk to you on the forums.
Thanks.
All righty. Very cool. So first of all, thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thank you to Danielle, DWX. Thank you to Knight in Melbourne. Thank you to Master Payne, Zane. Thank you to Sensei 8, Luther Unleashed, Boltar, and Bushido Man 96. Everyone who took the time to chat with us today and put their faces out there, which for a lot of people may not be the easiest thing, or may not, but it's definitely adds a different level to the community dynamic here. So I did want to take a moment just to recognize some people on the stream here who may watch this later or may not. But either way, just people that when I was thinking about the 15th anniversary, I understand and respect how you may not want to mention somebody because you're going to leave somebody out. You're always going to do that. That's always a thing. I think about that all the time. But with each milestone, I try to recognize specific groups of people, because, those people do appreciate hearing their name, but also it's good to do that because I generically say thank you all the time. but it has more impact when specific people are mentioned. So I want to take a moment and just recognize, I'm going to read a list of names here that really stood out to me when I thought about the last 15 years of KarateForums.com. So thank you to Bushido Man 96, Sensei 8, Tall Geese, who's looking at me right now. Sci-Fights MS, Ninja Nurse, DWX, Karate Kid 1975, Afy Bird, SBN Doug, Monkey Girl, Kicker, G95 Champ, PS1, Joe Steph, Zero, Tree Branch, Red J, Cathal, G Heinisch, Shotokan Kez, Justice Zero, Goju Boy, Batuse 16, Wastelander, I Am Rushman, Cross, Master Pain, Harkon 72, Shotokan Kid, TJS, Menjo, Delta 1, Sam, Lord Terrell, Pacific Shore, Patusai, White Owl, Jack, Niden Melbourne, Eodin, Raymond Mensa, Italian Guy, Karate K, Zane, Yamisu, Gold Dragon, Lupin 1, The Beast, Gurarg. That's a great name. And I apologize if I'm saying any of these names wrong. I suspect I am. In fact, I know I am, but I'm doing my best. Karateka Latino, The BBFC, Y2 Sub, PAL, J, Curves, Pitbull Judoka, BKJ 1216, JMac, Tiger 1962, Night Owl, Kuma, June 1, Adonis, Spartacus Maximus, Crazy Chicano, K Chenault, Iceman SK, Pineapple, Grandmaster Chen, Ice Choot, Marie Curie, I know that one easy enough, Karate Ed, Leaf, Hawk Moon, Shore Kid, JR 137, Montana, Stone Crusher 69, Wagner, Kusatari, J-Po, Luther Unleashed, John ASE, Cheese Fry Samurai, Pers, Ashworth, Brick Shooter, Mazzy Bear, Omrinox, Hammer, Spoto Komodo, Sparky, Titanium, Kenpo for Life, Wado Heretic, Nevin Real, Nevin Real, Van the Man, Chili Phil 1, Judo Dad Karate Son, RW, Lower East Side, The Pred, CTTKD King, Liger, Boltar, Gerd, Harlan, Drew, Cancu 65, A. Orstrom, Besai Guy, Stoneheart, Wayne Shin, Hawkfish, Skull Splitter, Canadian 77, Dave B, Ocean Shinabu, and Karate John. And I think, there's a lot of names there, new and old. If you're listening to this right now, you probably recognize a bunch of those names, and maybe you didn't recognize others, but it speaks to the different eras of KarateForums.com. Like if you have someone like Sci-Fights MS or Karate Kid 1975 or SBN Doug, like those were amazing members of the community of a different generation of the community. So in 15 years time, we've had these kind of cycles of members, and it's just great to recognize those people. Going beyond that, though, I would also like to further just recognize our current staff for the exceptional role that they play in carefully steering this community. Thank you to Ninja Nurse, Heidi. Thank you to Bushido Man 96, Brian, DWX, Danielle, Tall Geese, Alex, Wastelander, Noah, Sensei 8, Bob, Lupin 1, Devin, and Zane, John. And I would also like to thank past staff members. Again, Sci-Fights MS, Monkey Girl, Karate Kid 1975, SBN Doug, G Heinisch, Scott and Shelley, and J Dash, specifically for the deeply valued contributions that they made. So that's my long list of names. Alex, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share here?
Just first up, thank you for having me as part of this. Thank you for letting me kind of co-host this. I had a lot of fun, learned a lot along the way. And so thank you. And I just
done a great job, by the way. If this would have blown up probably a couple hours ago if Alex wasn't here to kind of help guide through the interviews. So it wouldn't have been possible to do this without Alex. So you've done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On a larger note about the community, I'll keep it short. I want to say what a cool thing it is you built here and that we all get to be part of, and what a big part of our martial arts careers or lives or journeys it is. And it really is. It really is important. I think you look at the long-term members that we see, people coming in, coming back, going away for a little bit, coming back, and it just speaks to how important of an outlet and how important of an educational aspect you've built. So thank you very much for building and running the forums. And it's been great the time that I've been here, and I'm looking forward to the next phase of it. So
awesome. Thank you, sir. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a great way to end it. I would say there's not much I want to add to that. I think KarateForums.com is a special community, not because of numbers, not because of length of time, but because of the people in it and how we treat one another. Again, as I said at the start of the show, I mentioned this, and that's where I guess I'll end it, is that's what I'm proud of most, is the way people speak to one another about random things, funny things, very sensitive things. We have people come into our communities and they share problems they have. And I've never seen, or I've rarely seen, and they always get dealt with, but I don't really see people respond to those sensitive problems in a way that is abusive, rude, bullying, that doesn't assume or work in best faith, or good faith. So, you know, I'm proud of the community that we have. I'm proud of the people that we have, and it's very much about the members and the staff and the people who contribute to the community. So thank you very much. Thank you for 15 excellent years of KarateForums.com. Regardless of what's in the future, like I think hopefully we'll be around for a long time, but just take a moment to look at our past and say thank you. It's a wonderful community filled with wonderful people, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be a part of it. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of that I've done really in my life is start KarateForums.com. So this community does mean a lot to me, and it's been fun to host the stream today, fun to chat with Alex and all of our guests, and thank you for watching. Bye for now.